Hello, everyone. It is C. Frank Picks and CFB Deep Dives. We are back with our Week 1 NFL predictions for the 2025 season. And immediately jumping into it, we are going to start with the Thursday night kickoff between the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles. It is in Philadelphia, and the line is 7.5 points favoring Philly. I am going with the Dallas Cowboys to cover this spread. I think there's enough offensive weapons in terms of their passing game to at least keep this close, like maybe a one-score game in the waning seconds that's cut to four by a field goal at the end of the game. Brandon Aubrey fantasy points, possibly. But that is my just very early prediction on that game. I really hate the Cowboys' run game being Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue and Miles Sanders, who they're all basically, besides Jaden Blue, are dust. So
Mhm.
I'm really just thinking that George Pickens and CD are going to be enough to save this game from being a total blowout, as well as Dak, uh, garbage time, yardage, scoring. And what are you going with this game?
I'm taking the Eagles to win and cover. You got you got the Super Bowl banner, the ring ceremony happening. They're definitely going to want to like rub Dallas's nose in it, being division rivals and all
Yeah,
that. Um, I don't know. I just think overall the vibes around Dallas are pretty terrible. Like Jerry Jones just traded away their best defensive player, maybe their best overall player. So I, you
and
know,
a big
to,
locker room leader.
between right. Pretty much like the heart and soul of the team, and definitely the heart and soul of the defense. And their defense is already going to be kind of in trouble as it is, even with them. They just gave Deron Bland a huge contract. I don't
Yeah,
know. I just feel like Jerry is just like completely lost it. Like he tried to negotiate with Micah Parsons and like exclude the agent from it, and then like hold Micah Parsons to the contract. Like it seems like Jerry is basically just trying to like swindle these players in negotiations and not include the agents in it, and just kind of bizarre and like he basically just tried to fleece Parsons. It seemed like
yeah, get him on a
so
longer
they just
deal.
yeah. So it's like you just trade your best player away, and not only do you just trade him, but you trade him within the conference, which is just crazy. And you traded him to the Packers, which not a rival of yours, but definitely a team that you've met up with in the playoffs
Yeah,
numerous
and
times and has
gotten
beat
killed.
you in the playoffs. Yeah, numerous times.
Yeah,
So like a playoff rival. Um, so they eat your lunch once again. I just feel like Jerry is too old, and he like his kids need to like take control of that team away from him, but I don't think anyone will. And I just feel like I don't know how much hope Dallas has, while Jerry's running the show. Like until his kids step up and say like you're done, you're not calling the shots anymore, then I think Dallas is just kind of cooked. Like I could see I think this season's going to go terribly. Like I'm like their defense is going to be awful. They're going to be giving up a million points a game. I mean, they have an offensive minded head coach, so they'll probably be able to. There'll be in a lot of shootouts, I'm sure. And
yeah. Do you think they're
I
going to be
sure.
like Kellen Moore style, like when he was the offensive coordinator, where it was just like the Big 12, where he was just going out there and like had Dak throw 50 times a game, basically? Or we think it's going
I
to be
mean, I don't see how it's not like that because their starting running back is uh their
Javante,
starting running back is Javonte Williams. Yeah, and then
underrated,
yeah, I don't know about
underrated
that, but
pre-injury 5 years ago. Whenever yeah, I don't even know when he got drafted, 2020 or 2021, but no, he's been their top two running backs, like I said, are just absolute dust in terms of production and where they are at their careers. Like Miles Sanders was a great running back for Philly, and
Yeah.
he is no longer that. He basically fell off the map when he got traded to or went to Carolina. So
Yeah.
they really need Blue to step it up for them at some point. But he's probably, I mean, he's buried on the depth chart right now. He's number 3, but injury may open that up for them. I have a very uh pretty bad outlook on the Cowboys season as a whole, but I think they'll be able to keep it close throughout most of these games. Although I do think
Ah,
they still have
yeah.
pieces on defense. I mean, they obviously have Duron Bland who
Bland. Yeah.
and they have DeMarvion Overshown, and he's a very underrated defensive player for them. He's basically going to be their Micah Parsons now. Um, but I think we're going to move on to the
Their
Kansas City
defensive
game.
coordinator, real
Yeah.
quick. Their defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus.
Oh, it's over. We are
It's
through.
over. It's over. They're letting up 45 points a game. Okay, yeah, let's move on to Kansas City.
Yeah, so we got Kansas City and the Chargers playing against each other. Another divisional game. This time they're playing in Brazil. And the Chiefs are favored by 3.5 points here. I am actually taking another underdog here. I know I got 2 underdogs to start off, and they are actually my underdog pick of the week. I'm picking them to win this game outright. I think that the Chiefs are kind of nearing the end of the line in terms of they are just unbeatable, untouchable. I think we've all seen that at this point. I have had the hot take over the past like year and a half that Mahomes is washed. I've said it on the channel multiple times, and
Yeah.
that may just be a screen grab, sort of like get your attention. But I do believe when you look at his 2020 season and pre 2020, all the insane plays Mahomes made, you're not seeing that as much anymore. You're barely seeing it at all. If anything, he's mostly just turned into a scrambling quarterback that kind of just somehow gets 15 yards off a scramble because he does the Kenny Pickett fake slide, but he's like
Mm-hmm.
he's like tiptoeing on the edge of the sideline and you can't hit him while or then he's actually going out of bounds. And
Right, right. And then you
I
get 15 yards.
I sincerely believe that this will be the Harbaugh flag plant game of the year. We got Lad McConkey. We obviously have Omari and Hampton. Najee Harris back from injury, back from firework accident. He's healthy, allegedly. I, I
Yeah.
I really just think that it not being an Arrowhead is what actually seals this game for me. The Chargers being able to win. I think Harbaugh is going to be there's going to be a coaching win where he's just going to have these guys prepare for a show on the road sort of situation where it's in neutral ground, and I feel like for some reason that favors him. So yeah, I'm going with the Chargers to just win this game outright. I like all their pieces on defense, and I mean I've loved I don't love the Greg Roman offense. I love it for this team because I think their quarterback's good enough to use his limited options at wide receiver in addition to the run game. So yeah, I'm going with the Chargers here.
Well, you're calling Lad McConkey limited? That's crazy.
I mean,
Best
I'm
receiver in
saying
the league.
in after him, it's Quentin Johnston, it's Trey Harris who they just drafted. It's very shallow.
Yeah, Quentin Johnson can't catch the ball,
QJ,
unfortunately. Otherwise, QJ would be an awesome receiver. He
he'd be
could,
a Hall of
catch
Famer.
the ball. Yeah. Um, so you're gonna guarantee that the Chargers win this game outright?
It's flag plant. This is yeah, they're winning. Chargers are winning.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs. We just know that their like bullshit little regular season nonsense will continue. They're gonna win every game 23-20. Yeah, Mahomes will throw for like 208 yards passing. Won't be impressive. But like you said, he will, through a combination of running, he runs like a 7.4 40-yard dash, but still somehow is like the fastest player on the field.
Him and Kelsey.
Um, Nobody can ever tackle him. Yeah, Kelsey runs like an 8.2 40, and somehow he just like outruns everyone. And although honestly, I think Kelsey is actually like fully dust this year.
I'm with
He
you.
was pretty awful last year, but um, this year I think he's like really and truly done. I mean, he debated retiring in the off season, and it was like he had to like he was like 50-50, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna come back for one more year. I
Publicity.
think when you get to that point, you're just like, you know, you're done. You're done.
He's not
That
in it.
said,
He's not fully in it with you.
no, he's gonna be planning at his wedding.
He's a
Um,
celebrity, dude. He's literally a
right.
celebrity at this point.
He's gone Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I'm gonna be completely honest. Yeah, I just think the Chiefs are gonna win though. Because the real like strength of their team has been their defense the past few years. And, I don't know if Chris Jones is washed yet. I mean, he's kind of older. Actually, let me look him up here. He's 31.
I think anytime a big team is like having a contract negotiation with one of their best defensive players and they're leaning towards, not signing him than they do, that's at the point where at some point during that contract he's going to be washed and they were just trying to look for an out in that contract. That I think that was the whole Chris
Yeah.
Jones negotiation. I think at some point he's going to be washed before that contract's fulfilled.
Yeah, going into year 10 as a defensive lineman is that's tough. And again, I think Chris Jones should have been the Super Bowl MVP for the 2 years ago Super Bowl, the
Oh
one
yeah.
against the 49ers. He basically like the 49ers looked good for a while. I think like the first half. Second half, he basically like single-handedly shut down their entire offense himself. He's just unblockable. Again, think he should have been Super Bowl MVP against in the second Niners Super Bowl. But when he starts to go downhill, I think the Chiefs really go downhill because, like we are talking about, Mahomes hasn't been impressive. Um, they're without Rashee Rice for the first
First
six
six
games of the
games, yeah.
season, and I mean you also have a guy who's coming off an ACL tear, so he
Pacheco.
hasn't been. No,
Oh.
Rashee Rice.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He got killed by Patrick Mahomes by
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
yeah.
I think Pacheco, we don't even know if Pacheco is going to be as good coming off that shin injury. I mean, he didn't look great last year. And
They he had a broken leg and he came back from it because I have him in fantasy, so I've kind of done a lot of studying of Pacheco. They're
research.
apparently saying they're saying he's like really healthy this year, and that Andy Reid's been saying a lot of good things about him. So I think Pacheco will be okay. But without Rashee Rice for the first 6 weeks, I'm not really bought in on Xavier Worthy. Like I don't know if he's anything but a speed merchant.
I mean, if we think about
You
his
know?
production in the Super Bowl, that's like his biggest game. It was kind of like, a product of the Chiefs being killed.
Oh, the Chiefs were losing 34-0.
Yeah,
And
they basically like, oh hey, look, we got some garbage time points with
yeah,
Xavier
so
Worthy big plays.
Xavier Worthy in the Super Bowl, 8 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. None of that actually happened like during any sort of like meaningful. I mean, you're
No,
down 34-0. You're down 34-0. I don't care. I like so that by definition, none of his touchdowns came in any sort of like meaningful. So I'm sorry. I just can't like I know that honestly kind of like boosted his draft. And he did kind of show up a little bit down the stretch in the regular season. But I don't know. I had him in fantasy last year, and again, I don't want to like jump to conclusions on a player too soon, because he's a rookie. But I just I don't know. I'm not really trusting him as like the number one wide receiver on the offense. I think he'll be better when Rice comes back, but you don't really have many threats in the passing game. Like you have Hollywood Brown, you have Xavier Worthy,
Washed.
you have
Justin Watson,
36
dude.
year old Justin. I mean, yeah, you have Juju. You have 37-year-old, 36-year-old Travis Kelsey. Like there's not many pass catchers in this offense.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is I see exactly why you're picking the Chargers.
You're just picking
They
Mahomes' black magic. You're just
yeah, I'm just picking the like,
Chiefs
you know,
devilry.
NFL wants Travis Kelsey to like ride off into the sunset, winning the Super Bowl with Taylor Swift. You know, they just want the clicks and the views, you know.
Oh, most certainly they want clips. Like they want
Right. They want to go
Kelsey
viral.
giving his football to Taylor Swift after he catches the game-winning touchdown.
Right. One last go. He's gonna get win one for the Gipper, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I'm sorry. He
Um
was complete dust last year. I think he's going to be even more dust this year. His one
oh,
good game was like he was being force-fed the ball on offense, and he barely clocked in. I think like 100 something yards. Um,
no, again, I don't doubt it. I
and
don't doubt it. I don't disagree with you at all.
if there's like players on my top five most dusty players, it is him and Austin Eckler. In terms of game speed, they do not look like they're NFL players. And Nick Chubb is on that list, unfortunately, because I'm a Nick Chubb fan. But
Sad,
he
sad, sad.
and who else were we talking about in terms of top five dust? I think Tim Patrick when we saw him in that preseason game, I think it was, and he just looked he caught the ball and tried to accelerate and moved the exact same speed from where he caught it, and it just looked like he did not increase the
Hmm.
speed at all. All right,
Yeah, that was brutal.
let's go on
Yeah,
to
let's go.
Tampa Bay traveling to Atlanta, taking on the Falcons. The Buccaneers are favored on the road here. They are 2.5 point favorites. I am
Yep.
picking the Bucks to win this game outright, covering the spread and win. Um, I have a lot of question marks with Michael Penix Jr. and I also have a lot of question marks with the offensive line. As we know, there's two big offensive line injuries on the Falcons. So, do we
They're
really?
bad.
Yeah, do we really know that Bijan? And I'm not questioning Bijan's talent or Drake London's talent. I think they're both incredible players. Are we sure that they're going to produce with a quarterback who's seen about 3 starts and all of them at the end of the year? Um, are we sure that this guy is going to produce behind a bad O line? He's going to be able to get the ball out against the Buccaneers, who beat the Eagles last year. They beat the Super Bowl champs. They beat the Commanders last year in the regular season. They played every single good team tough. And I just really think that the Bucks, yes, they're missing Godwin. They have Emeka Ibuka, who's a stud, and he's going to be in line for a ton of work because they have a couple injuries on offense. They obviously have Mike Evans. I will
Yeah.
admit that the Bucks have. I think they've lost two of their own linemen just due to free agency, but I I think that is a much better situation than losing your O lineman in training camp due to like season ending injuries because they're at least prepared for it, whereas the
Hmm.
Falcons are not. So I am I am not very in on the Falcons this year. I'm pretty out on them. I think there's a lot of underlying things that just kind of make me think like, do we really know if they're actually uh, much improved offense. So I'm going with Tampa Bay here. I just think that the Falcons have a lot of question marks. And if I eat my words and they look great, I will admit to that. But too many question marks for me to think they're going to be great to start the year.
Yeah. Very fair. Totally fair. I am actually going to take the. I'm actually going to take the Falcons to cover in this one, and I don't really know why. Just other
It's
than the
over.
fact that I mean, it just looks like I mean, I feel like Tampa. Like when I see Tampa minus 2.5, yeah, even on the road, it just feels like that is such a smash pick that I gotta fade it. Anytime it seems too obvious, I gotta fade it. And you have Zach Robinson in there, who comes from the Ram system, obviously the McVay disciple. Everybody wants these like young white 35-year-old white guys that running their offense. And Raheem Morris comes from the Ram system as well, so he knows Zach Robinson. They have weapons. I believe in Michael Penix. I think he's a really good quarterback. I thought he was amazing in college, and I thought he should have been a very high NFL draft pick. People were surprised when he went as high as he did. I was not. All you have to do is just turn on the guy's college film, and you'll see how special he is. He has an incredible arm. I think Michael Penix with Drake London, Darnell Mooney's not a bad receiver. Bijan Robinson,
I'm with you.
gosh,
I think they're underrated.
maybe.
Or at least Darnell's underrated.
Uh,
And I definitely am a big Drake London and Bijan guy.
my big concern though is like Caleb McGarry, their right tackle, is out for the season, and because Penix is a lefty, the right tackle is actually like the blindside protector, not left tackle.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you were talking about, that they have some big issues on their offensive line. I think they also lost some guy. Yeah,
They've lost
what was it?
yeah, I think they lost two tackles if I'm not mistaken. Um
But there's another issue is that Wirfs will be out. Tyrone Wheatley as well was placed on injured reserve,
that's who it
offensive
was, yeah.
tackle. But Wirfs is not going to be playing for the Bucks, so that I'm not going to say that evens it out, because I think the Bucks are a better team as it is. I don't know. My bottom line here is I feel like it's too obvious to pick Tampa at -2.5, so I'm not. I'm going to take Atlanta +2.5, and maybe we're just banking on good camp reports about Michael Penix, and maybe Atlanta being kind of one of those sleeper teams that comes in a little bit better than people thought for this year.
I honestly forgot to mention Bucky Irving, who I think is going to be even better than he was his rookie year. And
Oh yeah,
they obviously, I'm pretty sure Rashad White is in danger of missing the game, so they might be out on him. But I mean, Bucky Irving,
mm-hmm.
he is good enough to just take every single carry if they need him to. And I think I would, if I was the offensive coordinator, I'd be fine with just having Bucky Irving running it up the middle for however many 20 carries. Um,
Yeah,
I very much just think Tampa Bay, they beat the Commanders last year, week 1, and I think this, even if Atlanta is much improved, I think that this is going to age just as well. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a similar sort of win where they beat a young up and coming team. I just think there's a lot of firepower on offense for Tampa Bay, and I'm a big Baker guy. I've been a huge Baker guy ever since he was in Cleveland. I'm obviously a Cleveland fan. Um,
yeah,
so I just have a lot of faith. I think there's just a lot of room for improvement for this offense. I will say there is a question mark where, Liam Cohen's gone, but there was a
yeah.
question mark last year when they lost Dave Canales, and it was like, oh well,
That's
is
very true.
Baker going to be as good? I think he's just good. I think at this point it doesn't matter whose offense coordinator is. I think he's finally found a good fit, and I
Yeah,
I think he's got a team that works for him, and I don't have many question marks about if he's going to be good without Liam Cohen. Uh,
yeah. That's
we
fair.
we can go
Josh
on.
Gizzard. Real quick before we
Yeah,
do,
sorry.
Josh Grizzard. Josh Grizzard, Buccaneers offensive coordinator. So
Okay,
in 1 year when he's the head coach of the, I don't
Saints.
know, the
He's taking the Saints
no,
job.
well, I was gonna say Saints, but they also just got a new head coach. So
Yeah,
I don't know, the Browns. Um, when he's the new head coach of the Browns,
the
and we're having
Cleveland
the same
Browns.
conversation, is like, well, is the Bucks offense going to be able to withstand the loss of Josh Grizzard?
Yeah,
Probably, probably, probably. They're going to be good.
yeah.
I agree with you on that, and to be completely honest, I do think Tampa's the better team, and I think they're just a really good team in general. But I'm just playing this one off the line here.
Yeah, and
I'm
it
playing.
is an
I'm
odd
I'm picking the
line.
I'm picking the line, not the team.
Let's go on to a lot of divisional games this week. Cincinnati's traveling
Yeah.
to Cleveland, taking on the Browns. Cincy's favored by 4.5 points, and I've been going back and forth on who I want to pick in this game. I was thinking that I was going to pick Cleveland because I was like, I really think Joe Flacco on the Browns is very underrated. I know I've been seeing a ton of people say that the Browns are going to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And if it was any other quarterback, I'd probably agree. But I really think that Joe Flacco and how they run the offense with Joe Flacco is going to be different. They obviously run a different style of offense when they have a less mobile quarterback, and it's somehow always better than the offense than they run when they have a mobile quarterback. Or maybe that just has to do with what sort of quarterback is running the offense. But I
Yeah.
we we know what the Browns looked like with Joe Flacco as the starter, and we know what they looked like with Jameis, and they looked better than they did with the other quarterbacks, obviously. Um, Joe Flacco brought them to a playoff game and promptly got blown out by the Texans, but they made the playoffs. So, with all that said, unfortunately, I am taking Cincinnati to cover the spread because I just think, I think in terms of vibes, I think we have a healthy Cincinnati. We never see them healthy coming out of training camp and all that. There's always some sort of issue with Joe Burrow. There's some sort of issue with T.
Yeah.
Higgins or whomever it is. So I think
Hmm.
this year is pretty quiet. I mean, they were able to re-sign Trey Hendrickson, which is huge for them. They obviously
Yeah,
wanted
like
to bring
3 days
him back.
ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he doesn't know the system or anything. Like he's a rookie. They had all that drama
Right.
with
I'm just thinking.
Shamar Stewart, their first round pick. Uh, but they solved that probably like what, a month and a half ago. So
Yeah, it was a while back.
yeah, so I mean, I think that they're going to be at least upgraded enough where if the Browns are going to have to rely on Jerome Ford, who I'm not very big on, I was big on him as a rookie. If they're going to have him as the RB1 and you know it's a close game at the start, I don't think Jerome Ford is going to be looking great for us. I do very much like a lot of the small pieces on the Browns, but I just don't think you compete with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, and Chase Brown, who's like the solidified running back one over there now. So yeah, I'm taking Cincy minus 4.5.
Okay. Wow. I'm actually going to go the opposite here. I'm going to actually take Cleveland. I know Cleveland has a pretty good history against Cincy in recent years. Um, and I know we just kind of got done talking about like the Browns possibly being, looking for a new coach after the season. But I mean, you kept Miles Garrett. I think Mason Graham is an awesome pick
I
at
do as
D
well.
tackle. I thought it was a genius move by them trading back in the draft. Uh, you know, letting the Jaguars take Travis Hunter, landmine, and taking Mason Graham. I think Mason Graham was a game wrecker in college. He's going to be awesome for the Browns. And I know there's a lot of like social media discourse about like, oh my gosh, this guy's terrible in training camp. I thought that was all just noise. And this is coming from an Ohio State fan. I'm not a guy who likes to compliment Michigan players, but Mason Graham was elite, probably one of the best defensive tackles that I've ever seen play college football. So huge pick for them. Great addition for the Browns defense. And you have, I mean, pretty decent guys on defense. Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Ronnie Hickman's quietly become like one of the better safeties in the league.
Yeah,
Um, and Jim Schwartz, good defensive coordinator. Offensively, like I'm not seeing a ton. Like David Njoku is a really solid tight end. Jerry Jeudy, not going to be like the flashiest receiver, but
he had a
puts
great
up
year
numbers.
last year.
Yeah, he had 1,000 yards. I think he's top 10 in the league in receiving yards. Flacco, it's probably just a matter of the quarterback position. Which I mean, I'm looking at their depth chart right now. You got Joe Flacco listed as a one, Dylan Gabriel as a two, and then
Sugar.
obviously Shedeur Sanders, victim of global conspiracy, as the third string quarterback.
Yes,
Um,
commonly known.
but like, I don't know. I think Flacco will be decent enough, right? I mean, he's
I
not going to be awful. He's Joe Flacco, unless he just fully like physically is broken, unless he's just too old to play.
which I doubt in
He's going
terms
to be
of his game. He's not, you know what I mean? He's not running around anymore. And he looked
right.
pretty decent, athletically last year for Indy. And by that I just mean functionally mobile, like he can step up in the pocket and everything like that. He's not. I'm not saying he's looked better than Anthony Richardson out there, like he was running a 4.2, but I think
Well,
I think the
yeah.
offense is just functional with Joe Flacco with just a actual pocket quarterback. The offense of the Cleveland Browns looks functional. It looks dysfunctional without one. When they had Deshaun,
This,
it looked awful. And Jameis, it looked better. I think in Dorian Thompson Robinson, who they kind of try to make him like, a scrambling quarterback, he did not look great for the Browns. And that's why they've
no,
moved on from him. So I would just say I don't fault you for taking Cincy or for taking
I'm taking
Cleveland
Cleveland.
against Cincy. Sorry. But I just have a feeling that I think this is going to be ugly, even if maybe Cleveland looks good on their first drive or two, maybe. But I think after a certain point, it's going to end badly for the Browns.
Yeah, I get it. I feel like since they kind of start slow. Like last year, they started like what, like
They lost to
four
the
and eight.
Patriots week 1 last year.
Yeah, I feel like Cincy this year is like determined to start fast and get a win here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not picking Cleveland to win. I'm just giving 4.5 or covering 4.5 on the road in a division game is kind of tough for Cincy. So that's why I'm taking Cleveland in the points. I don't know
Okay.
if I don't think they're gonna win, but
All
yeah,
right. Yeah. We got Miami traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Surprisingly, the Colts are favored by 1.5 points, which I guess they're Daniel Jones truthers like I am. Um, I, against my better judgment, I am picking Miami. We have talked about this before, but we know there's a lot of like kind of questionable vibes coming from Miami. You said this: Tyreek Hill's not a captain for the first time in
yeah,
Miami. He
yeah.
said he was leaving after last year. He said, "I'm out." Literally said, "I'm out."
Yep.
And
Straight up said, I'm out. Thanks for the opportunity.
and I know a lot of people, including Tua, had problems with that. I know there's a lot of noise and smoke coming out of reports and stuff like that. I also saw that he's wearing his wrist brace that he was wearing last year. He had that wrist injury that was nagging him and obviously took him out. Uh, but I think it was close to midway through the year. Um, I really think that in order to counteract these bad vibes, I think they're just going to go full in on Jalen Waddle, who we've all seen is pretty talented as a number one. When before Tyreek got there, he was putting up good
Yeah,
numbers with Tua, and I think he's skilled. He was good in college. I think we're gonna see this is like the year that Jalen Waddle takes over, and I think in terms of Tyreek, this may be. I mean, last year he fell off, so this isn't even his fall off year. This is like his. Yes, he's definitely fallen off year. So it's really hard for wide receivers, older wide receivers, to break trends. I feel like, and I think the trend is he's downward sloping Tyreek Hill's career. And I mean,
yeah.
he's very based off his athleticism for the most part. And once that goes, what is he going to be against an NFL
I
defense?
I totally agree with you. Um, actually, just to add to your point,
Yeah.
uh, 2024, first season of Tyreek Hill's career since 2019, other than his rookie year, where he did not have at least 1,000 yards receiving. And in 2019, he only played 12 games due to injury.
Oh,
Um, First season of his career where he did not make the Pro Bowl. 2024, and he did play all 17 games last year. And again, we know he's kind of hampered.
Yeah. Yeah, the wrist injury basically started nagging him. Like I think I was right about like midway through the season, and then after that, he basically put up zero bombs on games and stuff. So I I
Hmm.
I really think this offense is going to switch from the Tua to Tyreek to Tua to Waddle. I really also kind of like Ollie Gordon. I know Ollie Gordon was a big like draft faller in terms of like over a couple years. A lot of people thought he was going to be the next big running back. I think it
Yeah,
was
he really fell off in college a lot.
he's gotten good reports. He's also one of the only healthy running backs in the Miami running back room. Obviously, Achan is supposed to be healthy for week one. He was dealing with that calf injury about 3 weeks ago. He should be all fine now. Jalen
Yeah.
Wright will not play though. And that looks like Ollie Gordon is going to be sort of in his rookie year taking on this change of pace back, goal line back, and I think it'll suit him pretty well. And I think the Miami offense is going to look good against a game defense in Indies.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I feel like kind of like the vibes are bad around Miami. I actually did kind of get like a unique look at this Miami team.
Uh,
Yeah, so I got lucky. I got pretty lucky. We have friends that work for the Bears and got field passes for the Bears Dolphins week preseason week one game. So we got preseason passes. We're on the or preseason field passes. We're like right there on the field watching. We were actually on the Dolphin side, so we were like up close and personal with the Dolphins. Like 5 feet away from the players as they're like we're warming up and stuff. But so Tyreek Hill was out there, obviously in street clothes, and like looked like he was hanging out with the team. Like it didn't look like there was any sort of like he wasn't like he was like standing off on the side. Like McDaniel was like talking to him, like the coaches were like he looked like he was just a normal part of the team. Maybe that was all just optics. I don't know. I
was he
do know
talking to
that like
Tua?
Tua. I don't remember seeing that. I know that like yeah, kind of like what you're kind of alluding to. Like Tua was the one that like vocally came out and basically said like I don't like the way he was talking and like that's he came out and said some pretty like forceful stuff
Yeah,
if I recall right. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't look like he was like kind of off on his own, but then again, and like maybe appearances don't mean everything. Another thing is I saw Ollie Gordon and I was actually really surprised at how big he was. For a running back, like in terms of height, let's see here. Yeah, it says 6'1", 225. Like, is a big dude, man.
he's gonna
Like
be the
he's
Raheem Mostert of the offense now that he's gone.
yeah. So yeah, basically, like you think about like a Devon Achan. How big is Devon Achan? Like
5'8".
it was yeah. On this page here, it says 5'9" and 191 pounds. Like anytime you got a running back that's under 200 pounds, like that scares me. Um, Jalen Wright, let's see, 5'10", 208. Okay, so Jalen Wright's more of like a kind of a traditionally sized running back, but yeah, no, Ollie Gordon is a big dude.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, all that's to say, I'm taking Indy to cover 1.5. I mean, the 1.5 at home means that they think Miami's the better team, but Indy's just a home team. Like if this was on a neutral site, Miami would be favored by like a point and a half. If it was in Miami, they'd be favored by like 4.5, right?
yeah.
Um, I don't know, man. I'm kind of with you. I just think the vibes are just kind of off with this team. I do think I'm with you completely on the whole Tyreek Hill thing. I think uh, he is entirely a speed based player, or mostly, and he had the worst season of his career, other than his rookie year. And yeah, I don't know, man. I think they're going to replace him with Jalen Waddle eventually. They should. I don't know why they haven't really been using Jalen Waddle. I had that one really good season a few years ago, and then they just kind of like forgot about him
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. But I'm going to take Indy. I think Daniel Jones is a decent quarterback, and we've kind of talked about this in the past. Like, these quarterbacks that go to like we use the analogy of like the World War I trenches, where it's like you just like these guys just getting mowed down. They're just going over the trench, going over top of the trench, just getting mowed down by machine gun fire. Like some franchises in the NFL are just meat grinders like that. Like the Giants are one of them. The Jets, the Bears, the Browns, I don't know who
Panthers,
else.
Colts.
Panthers.
I guess the Colts are like the unction. They're basically just like collecting old quarterbacks. But
Yeah, but we're just talking about like when you're a quarterback that goes through like a traumatic experience and like a horrible situation, like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. Those are like the main examples. Two of those guys were on the Jets. One of those guys, obviously, on the Browns. It takes a few years for them to like get rehabilitated and like actually, get into a better situation and start to like realize their true potential and kind of undo the damage that was done by those like meat grinder organizations, like again the Jets, Browns, Giants, those terrible, terrible franchises where talent just goes to die. Bears being one of them, up until 2025, of course.
Ben Johnson, we're back.
But yeah, exactly. I think Steichen is a really good, OC, and I think he could fix Daniel Jones if he gets enough time. I don't know if it'll be like a Kevin O'Connell, like 1 year, 0 to hero, like he did with Sam Darnold.
Don't forget,
Kind
Sam
of just like
Darnold
an
had
over.
the Shanahan vacation, though. Darnold played on the Niners,
Yeah,
and he looked pretty good when he came in for Brock. So Darnold had
that's
rehabilitation
true.
time. He had R&R in San Fran.
So yeah, that's fair. It wasn't a full 1 year rehabilitation for Sam Darnold. Honestly, it's probably he had those 2 years in Carolina, which probably didn't
That
really
was
help him.
that was a
But
second deployment in Nam. That was a second tour in Nam.
right, right, he came back. He came back home from Nam after being with the Jets, and they're like, actually, you're going back into the jungle, buddy. Um, I don't know. I think it's going to take Shane Steichen at least 2 years to like rebuild Daniel Jones and like undo all the damage that the Giants did to him. Um, so I don't really have high hopes for the Colts this year. I mean, their receivers. I mean, I like Josh Downs. He's like a good up and coming wide receiver. I also like Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman played all of last season with a broken back, and he's healthy now. People
Yeah,
thought he just like got washed or something, but he's he's a top, like, I don't know, top 20 receiver in the league.
he's
Would you
very
say?
consistent. Yeah, I would definitely say he's a very consistent performer.
And he
Definitely
does it with that.
underrated too.
He does it with bad quarterback play. He
Yeah,
produces bad, bad quarterback play, right?
totally. Yeah, I
Like
totally agree.
he's not one of those. So, and they have some pieces on the offensive line, defense. I don't really know a ton about the Colts defense. I mean, I know it was decent a few years ago, but that
They're
was when they
still
had Eberflus.
they're still pretty good, I would say. I mean, they've lost pieces here and there, right? Like they lost everyone's favorite cornerback, Rock Yassin. I think he's on the Raiders now, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm,
Um, but obviously they still have DeForest Buckner. Their offensive line is always a strength. They have my favorite
hmm
running back, my favorite bell cow running back, Jonathan Taylor. Um, who in my
Yeah,
opinion,
there's pieces there.
yeah. I mean, they
So
were a
they
Super
were
Bowl
they were
roster 5 years ago. That unfortunately Andrew Luck left, and they were stuck with Old Man Rivers as their starting quarterback. And
yeah,
in my opinion, their
and he got
offense
into
has
the
gotten
playoffs.
better to be like they had T.Y. Hilton still on the team in 2020, and now it's obviously Pittman and Downs, and Taylor was a
Yeah.
rookie in 2020. So um,
Yeah.
I think there is a husk of a very good team. That is what Indy is, and I think at
I
some
would say
point,
very good, but they just have pieces that, that could work.
yeah, no, they're like the skeleton crew of a very good team. Like there was like the pieces that were once a great team there, and now it is like they're good.
Mhm.
They're like above average, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And just kind of they just to kind of follow up, they in terms of points allowed last season, they were actually 24th in the league, which is
oh,
not great.
never mind.
Yards per play,
I'm a casual
yards per
fan.
play allowed, they casual observer. Yards per play they allowed, they were 18th, so a little bit better there, which is kind of that yards per play allowed. I kind of use that as like the benchmark
Yeah, well, when
that.
you have Anthony
Oh,
Richardson giving the ball over every 5 minutes, I don't think it's very helpful for your defense, especially when
okay,
your
that's another thing
quarterback's
that's another
packing
thing
it.
I think we should. Oh yeah, yeah. People like Anthony Richardson. The Colts gave up on Anthony Richardson. It's like, well, he's the only quarterback in my life that I've ever seen tap out of a game.
Yeah, gave up, quit.
So I think we should actually kind of spend a minute or two on this because there was a lot of conversation when they announced that Danny Dimes is a starter. There's a lot of conversation of like, well, the Colts are just giving up on the season. It's like, uh, no, I think their head coach knows who gives them a better chance to win. Like, head coaches are not guys who are going to give up on an entire season before it starts. Like, their careers last on average, like 3 years.
Yeah,
So I don't think Shane Steichen's given up on not only his season, but like probably his job.
yeah, it's one
So,
of the most competitive
um,
jobs in the world. Basically, only
right. There's only
32
32 of
positions.
them. And yeah, like, I don't think he's just given up. I think he's starting Daniel Jones because he has he has just kind of come to the conclusion that Anthony Richardson can't play.
Is
And
yeah,
Daniel Jones gives him the best chance of winning games, which is what he's paid to do. And I think we also would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that Jim Irsay died, their owner died. And I think that the Richardson pick was a Jim Irsay pick, that he was like, no, I want this guy, overruled the GM, like we saw the Browns do with
Shadur.
uh, Shadur Sanders. And I think with the GM or with the owner of the team dying, and I think the owner was the one that wanted Richardson. I think that played a role in why you saw them move away from Richardson. Because I think if Drew Irsay was still alive, they probably would have started Richardson because the owner wanted it. I think that's just all theory. That's all speculation. That's just what I think. But I think it makes sense. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. I think it's something that a lot of people don't think about or uh really put those two events in together in their mind, but that definitely lines up, and um I think that probably is one of the biggest helps to their franchise, as sad as it is to say. But Ursay, may he rest in peace, but he was not a great owner because if you look at, he's just bringing in a line of washed up QBs to kind of, like I said, they have this husk of a Super Bowl team, and he's
Mm-hmm.
trying to fill the hole of Andrew Luck. And it was Philip Rivers, they had Wentz, they had Matt Ryan, right? If Joe Flacco, they're bringing in all these old guys to play, and
Mm-hmm.
I think after a certain point, you just have to, you know, try again. And they tried with a terrible pick, in my opinion, taking Richardson, a guy who barely played in college and was developmental. We'd already seen how that turned out when the 49ers traded up to take Trey Lance. So I
Yeah.
was I
big time.
really just think taking developmental players is a big gamble that hardly ever works. Um, in the case of Josh Allen, it works because you have an organization that's willing to trust him and build around him. And
Yeah.
I don't think the Colts were ever willing to build around Richardson, and he didn't really do that much to deserve trust. Where we saw Josh was actually pretty good his rookie year, um, even with all the the problems he had interceptions wise and accuracy wise. Um,
Yeah.
so I
Also,
think.
Josh Allen.
Wait,
Go ahead.
sorry.
Sorry. No, I was just saying Josh Allen. Like people just think like you take a raw, unpolished quarterback, and he works, turns into the best quarterback in the league. That's the Josh Allen's the exception to the rule. Most Josh Allens are actually Anthony Richardsons
Yeah,
or
or
Will
Trey
Levis's
Lance's. Yeah,
or Trey Lance's.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Like for every Josh Allen that happens, you will have like five Anthony Richardsons or again Trey Lance's. Like, so just because it worked with one guy doesn't mean it's going to work with every guy. And I think that's kind of like teams like start to like delude themselves into like, oh well, they did it, we could do it. And I'm also just looking at this thing right here. It's a post on Reddit actually from 5 hours ago, and it's from a guy named Zach Kiefer, who I think is like a NFL reporter. It says Colts GM Chris Ballard was essentially staring at an ultimatum handed down by Jim Irsay in the 2023 draft. Take a quarterback or else. If Anthony Richardson hadn't been available at 4, the Colts would have taken Will Levis simply because he was the next QB on their board. So, yes, they were forced to draft Anthony Richardson at that point. It's confirmed.
Yeah, and they would have taken a chance on Levis, who I actually think Levis is a little bit less developmental because we actually saw Levis have great passing games. Like I think his first start, he threw 4 touchdowns. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean, honestly, they probably should have, alternate history. What if they had taken Will Levis at pick number 4 instead of Anthony Richardson? I mean, I think the problem with Levis was they had terrible protection in Tennessee. This is off topic, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think terrible protection does a lot of quarterbacks, and that's the whole David Carr situation. Um,
Uh-huh.
but I think we're pretty much tapped out on the indie subject. If you want to move on with
Yeah.
uh,
Absolutely. I will just say one thing. Some quarterbacks get all the protection in the world, like Trey Lance with the Niners, and it still doesn't matter.
yeah, that
You
is
know,
true. Well, it
the
doesn't help
Niners
that
have
Kyle
like,
Shanahan was using him as like a fullback and just freaking destroyed him in like 6 games, basically.
oh, I don't think he is capable of anything else.
Yeah,
That's my view. Is like Kyle Shanahan's like, well, you got to do something with him. Okay, all right, let's move on to the next game. We've spent
yeah.
way too
So
long on that one.
we got Las Vegas traveling to New England to take on the Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 2.5 points here. I am taking the favored New England Patriots. I am a big Drake May believer. I think we both are. Um,
Yeah.
I very much like a lot of the offensive pickups. I love Rabel. I think number one, I think having Stefan Diggs on this team is going to be a pretty big boost in terms of um, uh, offensive production. I really like Travion Henderson. That was a great draft pick. I think he's going to do good. I don't know if we're going to see a ton of him week 1. I think we're probably going to see more Ramondre at the beginning of the year. And then as the season kind of progresses, we're going to see more and more Travion Henderson. Maybe as soon as like week 4 or 5. But I think
Mm-hmm.
Stefan Diggs is going to be a great help. I don't obviously see him producing as like an insane number 1 option, but I think he's going to be in line for a bounce back year in terms of like maybe getting up to 800, 900 yards where he was obviously had that injury last year on the
Yeah.
Texans. I do like Afton Chisholm. He's the undrafted guy that they got, and he made the 53-man roster. He made a lot of noise in the
Wow.
preseason. Um, he's a pretty good wide
Impressive.
receiver for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Kyle Williams.
I am just kind of like it's kind of hard for me. They're in like the Raiders. The only reason I'm not picking the Raiders, there's a lot of question marks for me. Um, Gino, we love Gino, but I thought he looked pretty bad last year in terms of like no, I wouldn't say bad, but he looked noticeably worse in my opinion compared to his first 2 years with Seattle. Um, we obviously don't know how he's going to look in this new offense. Obviously, he's got Pete Carroll, and we have Genty, but we don't know. Obviously Genty, I don't doubt his talent, but it's the NFL. How do we know he's going to be a game wrecker from week one? Some
Well,
very big.
you didn't see him trucking people in that preseason game against the Niners.
Dude, I saw the last preseason game where they were playing the Cardinals, and I thought Zamir White looked better on the starter touches. I'll just say that it was the Raiders starters going against the 49ers second stringers on defense, and the second stringers were cooking Ashton Genty. I don't even know if he got more than 5 yards on his four something carries, and Zamir White actually
As a
looked
Lions
like the
fault.
better running back. Um, but I do think that the Raiders will be good as the season goes on, just because of Genty getting better as a rookie. But I'm not sure about week one, so that's why I'm going with New England.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm kind of going back and forth on this one. It's at New England, and Vegas is traveling cross country. Now, the good thing is, they have like more time to like prepare for it because it's the first game of the season. So it's not like, they're coming off a game and then they have to travel cross country and all within a week. So that doesn't worry me as much, just because of the fact that it's week one. But you have two new coaching staffs in place here, and like you said, we both. I like Pete Carroll a lot as coach. I also like Mike Vrabel a lot as the head coach. I do like the coaching staff that uh, Pete Carroll built there. I like, Chip Kelly as your offensive coordinator. It's a huge underrated win that not a lot of people are talking about. I mean, Chip Kelly was, at Ohio State, led them to a national championship as an offensive coordinator there, and then got an NFL job off of that. So I think, Chip Kelly did a great job with the offense at Ohio State, and I think he's going to do a great job with the offense in Vegas. They have decent, veteran experience with Geno Smith. Pete Carroll obviously believes in him. And I think Ashton Genty, regardless of the preseason, I think Ashton Genty is going to be a pretty awesome NFL running back. I'm just taking this. I'm just taking like the Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly combination in this game, and I think it's going to be close. I actually don't even know if the Raiders will win. I just think it will be a very close game. So I'm going to take the Raiders and the points. Although again, I like New England this year on the come up, and we both think that Drake May is going to be the next, a breakout star at
Yeah,
quarterback.
totally agree. I mean, I like what's his name, Dante Thornton, on the Raiders. He's very underrated player just in terms of metrics and what we've seen a little bit of him. I very much like him. We don't, and the thing that another question mark with the Raiders is, Jacoby Smith. Is he going to be playing? Um,
Jacoby Myers.
Myers, yeah. Why did I say Smith? Um, yeah, Jacoby Myers. Are we gonna see him playing, or I know he requested a trade, and I have a big thing on players requesting trades. They actually just want contracts. 99% of them don't actually want to be traded from the team unless you're Micah Parsons and you leave the Cowboys. But I'm not sure, what's going on there. Was he practicing and now they're without their number one? They have Jake Beck as their wide receiver one now. Is that what's going on? But yeah, Raiders just have a little too many question marks. Whereas Rabel obviously was a former Patriots coaching staff member, um, and obviously Ohio State legend. Um, we like I said, we like Vrabel. So I think he's just going to come out there and
Yeah.
have the sort of Vrabel game plan for Genty, and that's probably going to be a hard NFL debut. Uh,
Yeah.
like I
I
said,
just, I just, yeah. Go good. Sorry.
no, I just think rookies are prone to struggle in the NFL,
Sure.
especially ones that are have a lot of expectations placed on them. Although I did just like talk earlier about how I think Omari and Hampton's gonna have a big week, but that's Greg Roman, dude. Greg Roman's gonna make it work. Harbaugh's gonna make it work.
And Travion Henderson.
Yeah, well, I also said I'm not sure about Travion. I think Ramondre might get more of the work early on. So
And that's why I think Travion. That's why I think Travion could be in good place because Mike Vrabel is from Ohio State, so he has like all the inside info on Travion Henderson, and like I watched Travion Henderson the past 4 years at Ohio State. He is an injury risk if he's like the number one running back on the team. If he's not like he can't handle being the workhorse. But last year they brought in Judkins and they had like the 1-2 punch with them. And Travion Henderson not only played the whole season, but he was like, fully healthy and looked great all throughout the season, even like very late in the playoffs and like in the national championship and stuff like that. So I think it's good to have Stevenson for the Patriots, which Mike Vrabel understands. Like Stevenson is going to be your between the tackles, like power running guy, and Travion Henderson is going to be more of your like outside pass catching, third down kind of
big play.
explosive like playmaker guy.
Yeah,
So I think that's a good situation for Henderson to be in, and I think he'll like have more of an impact as a rookie, just because he's not gonna just be getting ran into the line a million times. He'll be brought in for like specialized situations.
yeah. I do kind of feel remiss that we didn't talk about Tyler Warren and all, but I do think Tyler Warren's going to have a lot of work in Indy. So just to go back to Indy really, really, really quickly, just touch on that.
Oh gosh,
I think he's one of the underrated pieces of that team that they added in the draft.
yeah, I wanted the Bears to get him. Bears obviously thought that Colston Loveland was a better fit. They took him. If Tyler Warren turns out to be the better tight end, it's going to be very hard to watch football for the next 10 years. Um, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of Tyler Warren. Thought he was incredible at Penn State. They like literally had no receivers at all last year, and basically it was like him and the running backs, and I guess kind of Drew Aller, but carried that team to the Final Four. Um, yeah, no, he's the real deal though. Tyler Warren, big time.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be a difference maker, and like as we were saying, targets wise, that's going to help the Indy versus Miami. But New England, I mean, in terms of tight ends, they have Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry, so they kind of have a unction going on there. And I mean, we're obviously talking about Las Vegas having one of the best, if not the best, young tight end in football, Brock Bowers, and his replacement, Michael Mayer, baby Gronk, who I am, who is out snapping him in the
Oh,
preseason and out playing him in the preseason, which is definitely
don't
just a
talk like
flash in the
that,
pan.
man.
But I think in terms
I'm
of offensive
I'm
firepower,
cooked.
we definitely have Las Vegas coming in with more big, flashy names in terms of overall because they have Genty and Bowers. But other than that, I think the wide receiver room is probably going to favor uh, New England, being that they have Stefan Diggs. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
Jalen Polk just got put on like season-ending IR,
yeah,
um,
he's done for the year.
which sucks because I was actually a big fan of his in Washington.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but I think Diggs is like I said. I think Diggs will do enough, and I think Diggs will actually be somewhat helpful for Drake May just to have a more veteran presence because last year it was I think they no last year they didn't have Juju on the team. I think he was back on um the Chiefs at that point, but I think it'll
yeah.
be good.
Juju is back on the Chiefs.
I think it'll be good for Drake May to have a guy to kind of lock in on as like a trustworthy target, and like obviously Stephon Diggs will be happy with that. We know how much he begged to have the ball fed to him on the Bills. Um,
Yeah.
so I contrary to my opinion when Diggs was on the Bills that I didn't like that. I think it's actually going to be a little better for a rookie to or a second year player, not a rookie, sorry, but to have a trustworthy target that he can kind of lock in on throughout the game.
hmm Yeah. I mean, the other wide receivers on that team are Pop Douglas and Kayshawn Booty,
Uh oh.
plus the
Yeah.
rookie Kyle Williams, and then your boy,
Afton
the
Chisholm, dude.
touchdown and target. What? Oh, Afton Chisholm. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's on there. But your boy, the touchdown slash target stealer himself, extraordinaire Mac
Oh
Hollins.
no. No. FBI's most
So
wanted.
he's going to just be poaching targets and touchdowns all day. But yeah, Diggs doesn't really have much competition at wide receiver there.
Yeah, but he's the bona fide one. I mean, Kayshawn Booty was what, like a 4-star recruit, you said, when coming out of college or coming out of high school into college?
I don't know what he was as a recruit coming out of high school. Um, but yeah, I do remember. Yeah, he was a 5 star.
Oh, yeah.
Number
Okay. I
three, number three in the country back in the day. Um, they were projecting him as a first round pick. Obviously, bro went in like the 7th round.
yeah,
Um,
due to excessive
Keyshawn
horniness.
Booty, yeah,
Uh
very very excessive, very excessive, like insane levels of horniness.
yeah.
Um, but we're not horny shaming on this podcast. But yeah, he just his combine numbers were horrible. But you want to move on?
Yeah, yeah, let's go on. We're going to another, hopefully not a mid-off. Arizona traveling to New Orleans, traveling to the Caesars Superdome to take on uh the Saints, who may be absolute garbage this year. The Cardinals are favored by 6.5 points, obviously, because I think almost everyone and their mom knows that the Saints are trash. Unfortunately,
Yep.
but I'm going with Arizona to cover the spread here. I like Tyler Shuck. I forgot how you say his name. I think it's Shuck.
Shuck.
Um,
Shuck. Yeah.
I was a fan of how he looked in comparison to Rattler in the preseason. I've never been a big Rattler guy, but they obviously chose Rattler for a
Yeah.
reason. I'm assuming it's more just familiarity, and they might want to start Shuck later on in the season as he kind of gets more acclimated and sits on
Yeah.
the bench. But I do not see this team scoring a lot with Rattler. I think maybe Kamara and Olave are going to be able to put some points on the board, but for the most part, uh, I really don't know about the hiring of Kellen Moore. This team has basically been in cap hell for the last 5 years, ever since Drew Brees retired. They've been, pushing the cap, kicking it down the road over and over and over. And Arizona, I feel like I'm a big Jonathan Gannon guy. I think you are too, Austin. I was actually out on Jonathan Gannon when I saw that very cringy opening interview, but he's definitely kind of won me over in terms of his how he leads his team, how he leads his defense, especially. They've had a lot of statement wins so far. Obviously, with Kyler, there's a lot of like ambiguity as to whether he's actually a real franchise guy. He's definitely good enough to be a starter in the NFL. It's just is he at that top level to actually win you a game single handedly? And for the most part, we've seen the answer to be no. Um, and will that ever
hmm
change? We don't know. Obviously, they have Marvin Harrison Jr. coming back, and he's going to be the wide receiver one over there. And I think his rookie season is actually kind of overhated on. I get why, because he's obviously expected to produce at such a high level, and he really didn't wow people, but he had great games last year. He was good against man coverage. Um, I fully expect him to play much better this next year, and yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals to just win outright and cover the spread.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan of Jonathan Gannon. I do like him. I do think he's a good coach. We're both on the Cardinals for this one, so I think this is the first game we're on the same team here.
Yeah,
We're both on the Cardinals -6.5. Yeah, the Saints have top pick in the draft written all over them. Unfortunately for them, it's probably not going to be their hometown boy, Arch Manning, because he looks like he needs 2, if not 3 years more left of college. Um, yeah, the Saints are a dumpster fire unless like Spencer Rattler just turns out to be like this just absolute monster. But they do have some talent on offense. Kamara, even though he's a little bit older, Olave, when he's healthy, when he's not getting, hospital balls thrown to him by Derek Carr,
yeah,
he's really I mean, statistically, Olave is like a top 15 to 20 receiver in the league when he can stay healthy. Rashid Shaheed is a good player too.
yeah.
So
Big fan of his.
there is some talent on the Saints. Uh, However, defensively, they were awful last year, 28th in the league in yards per play allowed. So, yeah, they're going to be awful. The Cardinals are probably going to be improved offensively. They have one of the best tight ends in the league, Trey McBride. Kyler Murray, wasn't Kyler coming off an ACL tear last year, like yesterday? Last year was his first year post injury, right?
Yeah,
Dude, I think people, kind of underestimate. Like people forgot how good Kyler Murray is. Like, oh, he sucks now. Well, I'm not willing to say that he sucks now. I mean, you know what's actually a good thing is, uh, you know, he's going to have another year with Marvin Harrison Jr. and just kind of getting on the same page. And like you said, Marvin Harrison Jr. was not that bad last year. He was bad in fantasy football because of where he's drafted, but he had 62 catches for 885 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he had a pretty good season, pretty close, honestly, to Tyreek Hill's numbers, not too far off. However, 116 targets, 62 receptions. That I think is a lot of due to like bad targets from Kyler Murray. Marvin Harrison came in with like massive arms, like he looks like insanely jacked now. I don't know if that's gonna like help him as a receiver, but they clearly feel like it's gonna benefit him. I think, another year of those guys in the same system, plus Trey McBride, plus James Conner, touchdown machine. Trey Benson, a running back that a lot of people liked coming out of Florida State,
yeah.
is also there as well. So they have some depth at running back. I think it's a good position. I think it's a good squad. I do think, with Jonathan Gannon running the defense. I mean, last year, where did they rank defensively? Not great. 23rd in yards per play allowed. But again, Jonathan Gannon, as a defensive-minded coach, you have to assume that that's going to improve. That he's going to, make that a point of emphasis. So I do think the Cardinals probably have a good chance, and they still went 8-9 last year, right? Like they weren't terrible last year.
They've
So I
improved
think the
every year
Cardinals,
under Gannon. They've gotten better every year. So
they could be a sneaky, like, one of those teams that's like in the hunt towards the end of the year. You know, like I don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs, but they could. They could be like I see them being in the hunt. Um,
I don't think
but
they're going to
yeah,
win their division, but I mean, that
no,
we'll talk about that later, just because I have my most improved team from
the
last year to
NFC
this year.
The NFC outside after Philly, the NFC is like anyone can do anything pretty
It's
much.
always open. It's pretty
Um,
much always open.
but yeah, I like as for this game itself, with Arizona -6.5 on the road. I know I said earlier that I didn't I thought that was too much for Cincinnati to cover at Cleveland. I think just with I I'm not a believer Spencer Rattler, and I think I just I don't know. I just think the Saints are a worse team than Cleveland, and I think the Cardinals have a better defense than Cincinnati. I mean, well, shoot, everybody's going to have a better defense in Cincinnati in all likelihood. So I am actually going to be comfortable taking the Cardinals -6.5 here.
Oh, and by the way, Kyler did not get hurt. He got hurt in 2022, right? In December 12th, 2022. So 2 years ago, he was recovering from it. He missed the first half of the season recovering in 2023, and he was back playing fully last year.
Okay, so he's fully okay. Well, I guess that kind of destroys my whole point, but yeah, bounce back for Kyler
This
Murray.
will be his
I'll
first
just keep this.
fully healthy year. He's going to be
This will
really
be
healthy.
yeah.
He's
This
he's
is
now
this
fully
is
recovered from his recovery of his
double.
ACL
He,
recovery. Yeah,
he's now twice as healthy as he was last year. He's 200% healthy.
he's very fresh.
Yeah, he's 200% healthy now. And, they always say a torn ACL is better after 2 years. I don't know who they are. I just made that up 5 seconds ago, but I'm
Sounds good.
sticking to it.
Sounds good to me. uh, let's go on to a fucking dumpster fire mid off. Pittsburgh Steelers are traveling to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Football Jets. And Pittsburgh's favored by 2.5 points. This is a double revenge game. We have Aaron Rodgers taking his revenge on the Jets, and we have Justin Fields taking his revenge on the Steelers. Um, I have kind of gone back and forth on who I want to pick in this game, and I have written down that I'm picking the Jets, not the Giants. Sorry, but you know what? I'm changing it. I'm picking Pittsburgh. I just think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be too good, and I know they're traveling, but it's Rodgers. He's competent enough, I think, to just feed DK Metcalf the ball. I mean, you and I have our opinions on whether or not Sauce Gardner is a lockdown cornerback. Um, and I don't
Mm,
think he's going to be enough to cover DK Metcalf one on one. I mean, Jalen Ramsey couldn't even do that when Jalen Ramsey was still good. Um, so I'm changing my pick. Drama. There's drama in the studio. I just screwed everything up. But I'm
I just changed it in the spreadsheet
yeah, I'm
for
I'm
you.
changing over. I think just based off of the more I think about this game, I don't know if Aaron Glenn's Jets are going to be able to beat Mike Tomlin, especially early season Mike Tomlin. The Steelers are always great in the early season, and then they suck as later on. So yeah, I'm
I
going
would
with
say the
Pittsburgh.
Steelers. I would say the Steelers are always like they're only good in one half of the season. It's either the first half or the second half. Like if they're bad in the first half, then it's like, oh gosh, we got to get to 9-8, got to get to 9-8. And then if they're good in the first half of the season, then they're bad in the second half of the season because again, got to get to 9-8.
Yeah, they're just
Um,
abysmal.
I'm glad you see the light on this one. This is I know that 2.5 line, that 2.5 points seems like a rat line, kind of like they're just begging you to take Pittsburgh. Um, but you have a rookie head coach in Aaron Glenn. You have Justin Fields as a quarterback who was with Pittsburgh last year, so Tomlin knows him. This is exactly the spot where like a veteran head coach like Mike Tomlin will come in and get the win and show Aaron Glenn how it's done. And that's just the way I see this. I'm not even. No, and I always say like take the line, don't take the team. But in this case, I'm betting purely on the coach. entirely this is entirely a vote of confidence in Mike Tomlin over Aaron Glenn. Actually, it's also a vote of confidence in Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers over Aaron Glenn and Justin Fields. So that's the way I feel about this game. Veteran experience versus rookie head coach and a quarterback who used to be on Pittsburgh that Mike Tomlin will know exactly how to defend. He knows his weaknesses. He knows his strength. And this is a smash spot for me for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, I really don't see how the Jets can outplay a Mike Tomlin coached Steelers team. They're always, I mean, TJ Watt's probably going to get like 10 billion sacks, and
Yeah.
it's not going to be great for the Jets. I know the Jets are projected to be one of like the worst offenses in football as well. Or
Mm-hmm.
worst teams at least. I don't know about offenses, but yeah, I'm out on the Jets for this game.
Yeah, that's an easy one. All right, you want to move on to our favorite team, Washington?
Yes. Yeah, so we are going to Washington. It is the New York Giants traveling to take on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are at home favored by 6.5 points. I am taking the underdogs here. I'm taking the Giants to cover the spread. I don't know if they'll win. I just think Dable plays these guys tough. He knows how to play Jaden Daniels. I would like to harken back to I think it was week 8 or 9 game that the Giants and Commanders played last year, where the Giants did not have a kicker, scored 3 touchdowns, and proceeded to lose the game because they had to go for it on 4th down and go for 2-point conversions all the time because they just did not have a kicker. And when they tried using, I think it's Gillikin, their punter, as the kicker, it was just terrible. So
Mm-hmm.
I really think the Giants should have won that game last year with Daniel Jones. And
Yeah.
regardless of your opinions on Daniel Jones or Russ, I think Russ is at least healthy week 1, completely fresh Russ. I think he's going to be good enough to outplay that week 9 Daniel Jones performance. He's obviously going to have Malik Neighbors as his number 1 target. And I think Russ always does good with a guy who's shifty and tall. Malik Neighbors is, in my opinion, one of the most future number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. He's very good, as long as he doesn't get destroyed by the MetLife turf. But I just think
Mm-hmm.
the Giants will be able to keep this close, if not win. With just, I know Dable knows this matchup, and their defense has gotten better. They got Abdul Carter. Uh, I just think this is a spot where a lot of people are thinking, especially with this line, the 6.5 point line, that Washington's going to go out there and just destroy the Giants because they're the Giants. But I mean, over the past years with Dable there, which I'm surprised they've kept Dable and shown, but they are a very solid team. They're not just like, you can't really walk through them for the most part unless you are the Chiefs or you know what I mean, the Ravens, one of these
Mm-hmm.
upper echelon teams. And I don't believe that Washington is an upper echelon team, not yet at least.
Nope.
So,
So you're going with the Giants then?
yeah, I'm taking them to cover and maybe win. I'm not 100% sure on if they can win. That actually really just depends on if we see Russ come out there and look like 2020 Russ, like barely not washed Russ. If he's like Denver Broncos Russ, yeah, then they'll probably cover the spread, but that's it.
Yeah. I just like I'm with you. I'm also taking the Giants plus 6.5. This is it's on the road. It's at Washington. I don't know if the Giants are going to win, but kind of like we were talking about like a minute ago, like the Giants have just like an absurdly good front seven. Like you have Dexter Lawrence, you have Brian Burns, and you have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Abdul Carter that you just added. So they have a crazy number of pass rushers and guys up front. So their defensive front should be really solid. Um, Offensively, Tyrone Tracy's decent running back. They'll probably play Scatabo a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a
Neighbors,
fan of
obviously.
Tracy. I very much like his receiving use, and I think that might be a good like check down option for Russ. And we know Russ loves his check downs as he's gotten more washed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're just kind of betting that they can keep it reasonably close here with Russell Wilson. But yeah, you got Neighbors, you got Wandale Robinson, a player who I think is kind of underrated. Darius Slayton, decent receiver. Offensive line, kind of a lot of question marks here, but nobody's saying that the Giants are going to be a good thing. More to the point, I just think that Washington is going to be the biggest regression candidate in the league. They were 9-4 in one-score games. I thought they were extremely lucky to beat the Bucks in the playoffs, and I thought they were even luckier to beat the Lions in the second round. The Lions had 5 turnovers in that game that were resulted in a 35-point swing in a game that Washington won by 14 points. But overall in the regular season, you are 9-4 in one-score games. You do have that game against the Giants that you win because the Giants don't have a kicker. You had that game against the Bears, which was the most miraculous win you're ever going to see in pro football.
Yeah, very
And
fluky.
they also had yeah, they had a win over the Eagles late in the season, which shouldn't have happened. Jalen Hurts wasn't playing in the game,
Yeah, no Jalen
and
Hurts.
Devontae. So Kenny Pickett was starting, and Devontae Smith had like a catch that would have sealed the game basically, and he dropped it. Commanders come back and win that game. So that's already kind of off the top of my head 3 wins that they shouldn't have had, plus their 2 playoff games. I thought the Commanders were extraordinarily lucky and fortunate last year. They were 79% on fourth down conversions last year, which was tops in the league. That's something that will most likely regress. And then probably the biggest reason that I think Washington regresses, 62% of their plays last season were run in no huddle, which was number 1 in the NFL by a wide margin. And number 2 was the Bears at just 25%. So I think that's kind of points to a team that in many ways took the league by storm, by running a lot of no huddle. And that's something that the league will catch up to with an off season of preparation, a full season of film. So I do think the league will catch up as far as that goes, and be able to adjust to that no huddle. So I do think Washington is kind of in for a rude awakening this year. I don't see them being a team that is able to replicate the magic of last year. Like I think a lot of people are just expecting Washington to just get better and better. I don't see it that way. I see a team that's going to get worse this year, and that they had a lot of unsustainably good fortune or good things that went their way. Um, that said, again, um, I for this game in particular with the 6.5 point line, it's a division game. The Giants played them close. They lost by 5 and lost by 3 in both their games last year. The Giants never once lost by more than 6 last season. So I do think with Washington regressing, and I do think all overall the Giants got better. They got the best defensive player in the draft in my mind in Abdul Carter. I think that guy is just an absolute stud. Who was the hands down best defender in the draft. So I think the Giants got better, and I think the Commanders are going to be worse, and I think they're going to be close. So I will take the Giants to cover the 6.5.
Yeah. No, don't forget, Jackson Dart will come in and throw 4 touchdowns. Now, let's go on to another divisional game. This is Carolina traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. The Jags are favored by 3.5 points, and I am taking the Jags to cover the spread and win this game. Um, we were discussing this earlier. I'm a big Tedero McMillan fan. I'm also like a pretty big believer in Bryce Young after this, like his resurgence after the bye week last year. I I didn't know if he had the size and just, a durability to survive the NFL. And he has shown a lot of tenacity and just looked very tough out there and performed very well in the latter half of last year. So it is a very rough, like in kind of, I'm getting nervous picking the Jags, but I actually think the Jags are going to be one of the most improved teams this year. I think they're going to have a lot of progression in terms of we have second year Brian Thomas Jr. We usually see these younger wide receivers that have great rookie years take a big step up. And let's
Mhm.
not forget that Brian Thomas Jr. put up a lot of his yards with Mac Jones throwing him the freaking football last year after Trevor Lawrence got hurt. So I think no Evan Ingram is also going to help him out a lot. I think he's going to get a ton of work. And um, Travis Hunter might be a bit of a decoy for BTJ to get the ball even more. The reason why a lot of people slept on Brian Thomas Jr. is because he was behind Malik Neighbors. Even in their last year in college together, Brian Thomas Jr. was the guy who scored most of the touchdowns there, and it was actually Neighbors who got a lot of the receiving work, yardage wise.
Mm.
Um, I really think that this game might be a shootout, which is kind of crazy to say because if you had like listed this matchup last year at the beginning of the year, everyone would think this is like a 10-7 shit fest game. Um,
Yeah.
but with Tedero McMillan and I'm not big on Xavier Legette. I'm not really big on 24-year-old developmental wide receivers, but um,
Hmm.
with our guy Hunter Renfro as the third wide receiver in that wide receiving room. I just
He's
think
back.
that we're gonna see a bit of offensive firepower from both teams. I think honestly that Carolina has the running back advantage. I think Chuba Hubbard um, is a better running back than washed ETN. And I was a big ETN guy last year, and he just did not perform. Although Tank Bigsby might be better as the change of pace guy. Um, but yeah, I'm very big
Mhm.
on Chuba Hubbard. I am really just picking uh, Jacksonville because I think Liam Cohen is going to have this offense looking better than it did last year. And I've always been a Trevor Lawrence guy. I think in terms of QB prospects, this has been said a ton. He is a, blue chip, like the Andrew Luck level QB prospect. And he's got all the tangibles. And I don't think that he's got any sort of mental like blocks like somebody like Zach Wilson may have. Or so I am definitely picking the Jags to win this based off of head coaching differences and uh, mainly based off of Trevor Lawrence kind of having a resurgence with some good targets.
Okay. Um, so I'm actually taking this as my underdog pick. I'm taking Carolina to win outright on the road at Jacksonville. I don't disagree with what you said. I think the Jaguars are going to have a much improved offense under Liam Cohen. I think uh, Trevor Lawrence is going to get his career back on track under Liam Cohen. However, I am just going to take Carolina in this one because I do think things will get off to a rocky start in week one. In the Liam Cohen era, he's a young head coach. I think, might the moment might be a little too much for him. And I'm going to take Carolina to win this one outright. I like the way things were moving. I like the direction things were going in Carolina last year towards the end of the season. Bryce Young looked a lot better, and it looked like the arrow was kind of pointed in the right direction. I think they'll carry that positive momentum into this season. I love them getting Tedero McMillan, big receiver for Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard, he kind of had a little bit of a breakout season last year, so he's a decent running back. And yeah, I just overall again, I like I like the Panthers to get the win here. Now, my concern is the Panthers had by far the worst defense in the league last year. Um, and I don't know how much they've done to kind of overcome that or kind of turn that around. The fewest points in a game that they allowed last year was 17. It was the only time that anybody ever scored under 20 against their defense. They
Yeesh.
gave up 30 points. Yeah, they gave up 30 points or more 10 times last season, which, needless to say, that's horrible.
JC Horn, dude, he's gonna
But
lock him down. He's gonna lock down Travis Hunter
yeah,
single-handedly.
uh, so this is kind of a leap of faith, but then again, the Jaguars don't have that great of a roster either. Um,
Defensively, I mean, they have a great defensive front. They've had a lot of issues with cornerback and their defensive backs for the most part, and the issues of health and
mhm.
just like finding actual rosterable players.
Yeah, yeah, but anyways, that's my 2 cents. I think this is going to be Liam Cohen kind of having a welcome to the NFL moment. And I think I'm picked against rookie head coaches several times. Uh, yeah, I picked against Aaron Glenn, and I guess I kind of I guess the New England Vegas game doesn't really count because they're not rookie head coaches; they're just in different places.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm gonna take Dave Canales to win this one. This is purely a vote of confidence in the head coach quarterback combination,
T
which
Mac believing.
kind of insane. Yeah, T Mac believing for sure. Although I do think overall I would probably still take Brian Thomas Jr. over him. But yeah, I'm gonna take honestly, if this was like Dave Canales and Trevor Lawrence versus Liam Cohen and Bryce Young, I don't think it would be even a question. I'd probably take the Canales Lawrence, but
Yeah,
so that's why it kind of gives me a little bit of a pause because I think Trevor Lawrence is a decent quarterback. Again, guys won a playoff game, one of the greatest comeback in like 30 plus years. So got to give him some credit for that. But I'm still going to take Carolina to win this one.
yeah. This will definitely be an interesting game. It's probably, if I'm looking at all the games, if I want to pick like a sleeper game of the week, I think it's this one. To be honest, um, divisional
It'll be
game.
high scoring.
Yeah, I think this will be a
It's
very
not
nice
divisional.
game for the fans of offense. If you're a fan of defense, close your eyes. Look
Yeah, I
away.
don't know. I don't know how much of it is going to be like good offense versus bad defense, or maybe a little bit of both. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably going to be a shootout.
Let's move to Tennessee traveling up to Denver to take on the Broncos. The Broncos are favored by 7.5 points. Uh, I am just straight up taking them to uh, cover the spread and beat the Titans. I think the Titans are going to be improved this year because Cam Ward is better than Levis. I don't think I'm ruffling any feathers by saying that. Um, Obviously he's got to prove himself. He's a rookie, but he was good in college. Put up monster numbers at Miami. Um, I really just think that this is a really tough ask as a rookie quarterback to be going against a great defense in Denver. Um, I think that this game is just going to be, the defense of Denver giving Cam Ward fits. And I mean, he's going to have his number one, Calvin Ridley, getting covered up by Patrick Surtain for the most part. And let's not forget
Defensive Player of the Year.
Riley Moss, the great white hope. I think I really just think that Denver, Bo Nix, he's a very known quantity. He's going to get better. He was a rookie last year, and he improved very much as the season went on. I think he's going to look good. I think defensively wise, Tennessee's not great. I don't even think they're average. I think close to it.
They were 30th in the league in
Oh,
points allowed last year.
yeah,
They
okay,
were
yeah.
abysmal. Yeah.
I think Sean Payton as an offensive play caller is going to just be able to destroy Tennessee. So That being said, I'm totally just picking the Broncos to smoke them. I think this may be their payback for that one time that Miami dropped like a 70 bomb on them. I don't think they're dropping 70 points or anything, but I definitely think this is going to be a good high scoring game for Denver.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on everything there. You got rookie quarterback, number one overall. I'm a big fan of Cam Ward. Um, this guy started out at a school called Incarnate Word, which is a FCS program. Then went to Washington State, then went to Miami, then became the number one pick in the draft. So he literally went from a guy that basically nobody wanted, nobody cared about, nobody had any thought about, to the number one pick in the draft. Truly one of the all-time great, like, zero to hero stories, along with like Baker Mayfield. Um, I think I would never pick against a guy like Cam Ward because he's proved people wrong at every step of his career. However, in this game, his first career game in the NFL, going to Denver, Denver's a tough place to play. I don't know if he's ever had to deal with any sort of like altitude like that. Although I guess he did play at Washington State, which is kind of mountainous out west, but still the NFL is a whole different beast. Denver is a whole different, the Mile High Stadium. Plus, like you said, you have arguably the best defense in the league, or at least the top five defense. At the very least, Denver did rank third in the league in points allowed last year, behind only the Chargers and Philly. Comparing to, again, Tennessee being a bottom three defense in the league last year. Denver has the reigning defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, going to be, like you said, locking up or at least making life miserable for Calvin Ridley, who's going to be somebody that Cam Ward will really have to lean on. And again, I'm going to just take the veteran experience of Sean Payton. This is a playoff team. This is a really good team. And again, I don't like to take the obvious pick, but sometimes the obvious pick is right. And in this case, I'm taking Tennessee, or I'm taking Denver to win big over the Titans.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to say about that one other than it's not gonna be
Mm-hmm.
close. So we got another NFC divisional game. This is San Francisco 49ers traveling up to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. San Fran is favored on the road by 2.5 points. I am taking San Fran to cover this and to obviously to win. I am a big CMC believer this year. I don't think it's hard to say you believe in CMC. It's more you're believing in his health. And everything we've heard from Shanahan in training camp is he looks healthy, he looks great. Um, I think he's in line to get a lot of work considering they just got Brian Robinson Jr. in there. I doubt he's up to speed on the Shanahan run blocking scheme and everything. I doubt he's actually going to be in line to be a real number two early on in the season. I also know Isaac Arendo is hurt, so he's not playing. So we are in line for a lot of CMC week one. So I think he's going to have a smash game. Um, the the Niners are they have a lot of pieces missing on offense in terms of they don't have Ayuk. They traded away Debo, although Debo wasn't contributing very much last year. Juwan Jennings is holding out, injured, quote unquote. But I think Kittle, CMC, and Ricky Pearsall are going to be enough to be able to beat a above average team in Seattle. And I think CMC controlling the ball, if they're going to be running with him, they're going to be controlling the game clock here pretty early on. And let's not forget, Sam Darnold used to be on the Niners, so Shanahan understands him. He knows all his tricks. We're gonna, Robert Saleh is going to have the game plan dialed up, dude. He's anti Jets. Don't forget, man. Saleh's anti Jets. Um, but I am very interested to see in Cooper Cup how he performs. Obviously, big JSN guy, so I don't have no doubts that JSN's going to look good. But very interested to see if Cooper Cup is Cooper Dust or if he's actually, somewhat relevant still. This is going to be an interesting game, but I am favoring the 49ers to control the clock and just have a CMC sort of game.
Yeah. As far as Cooper Cup goes, I sadly think that he is Cooper Dust. The reason I think that is because the Rams didn't even make any attempt to bring him back, and you're talking about a guy who pretty
Won the
much,
Triple Crown.
yeah, he won the Triple Crown. I mean, other than you have like Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt back in the day, um, but Cooper Cup, I mean, this is a guy that won Super Bowl MVP and had the greatest receiving season in franchise history. And they were just like, yeah, no, we're not bringing this guy back. And so he went back to his hometown. He's from Washington, so he went back home. I think he is dust, but I here's the thing is, as far as the defense of the Seahawks, they finished 11th last year in points allowed. I think you have a defensive coach in Mike McDonald. I think
Yeah,
you
former
are going to
Ravens.
even see what's up?
No, I was just saying, yeah, he's the former Ravens DC. Obviously, they had a top one defense when he was there.
Yeah, and I mean, you just start looking at their off-season transactions. They added a lot of defensive guys. I don't know, man. I just think I think they're going to be even better on defense. They're rebuilding the defense even more, and they were pretty good last year. And they bring in Sam Darnold, so that's kind of a question mark for me. Um, can Sam Darnold thrive away from the Kevin O'Connell system? Remains to be seen. Obviously, Seattle believes he can. They signed him pretty quickly, if I recall. They kind of pounced on him. Um, so you lose DK Metcalf, JSN's your number one receiver. They're going to be running the ball quite a lot. Their offensive coordinator is Clint Kubiak. Previously, I think he was in Houston, if I'm right.
Saints, right?
Oh, the Saints, right. Um, yeah, wasn't really super successful there, but it was kind of just an awful situation.
Don't forget he had those two awesome games, week 1 and 2, dude. They look like the best offense in the planet.
That's true. When they destroyed Carolina 48-10, yeah.
And they destroyed the
Um,
Cowboys, yeah.
yeah, that was when the Saints fooled everybody. But I just think he's more of a running guy, and I think, but when you have, I don't know, I love Alvin Kamara. Like a he's not a workhorse running back. He's more of a kind of give it to him in space and let him make plays kind of guy. He's not a guy that I want to see getting 25 carries between the tackles a game. Um, but meanwhile, in Seattle, you have Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who are both kind of power backs, big physical running backs. I think they're going to run the ball a lot this season, and kind of just rely on Sam Darnold to kind of be a game manager. That said, San Fran -2.5 in this game. I am actually going to change my pick. I was San Fran -2.5. Now I'm taking Seattle +2.5. I don't know. I think Seattle's going to be pretty good, and I
I,
still not. What's up?
dude, I'm just really out on Kenneth Walker. I think he's talented. He's very injury prone. Um, I mean, he had
But
a.
Zach Charbonnet is good though.
I'm a big Zach Charbonnet guy, but I really just think that this is going to be one of those games that the Niners, I would consider the Seattle's strength of their defense. I think they have a good defense in general. As I said, above average, and I agree with you. They're probably going to improve, but most of their strength is their defensive backs for the most part. They have a very good cornerbacks and safeties. Um, but I think CMC is like matchup proof. Who like healthy CMC is one of the hardest players to, you know, stop him from impacting a game in any way. Do we remember the game when he first came over to the 49ers where he threw, caught, and ran in a touchdown? he's pretty much a jack of all trades when it comes to just offensive scoring and impact. So I really just think that the Seahawks are going to have problems with number one. This is Darnold, his first game, official game with the Seahawks, and we really don't know what he's going to look like you said. So I think if they're going to try and run the ball, it might be coming from a position where they're down early due to a 49ers like design Shanahan first drive that they just score in like 6 plays or whatever. Um, and I think that's just a bad recipe if they're going to be trying to run with Kenneth Walker number one. He's been in like limited in practice already with a foot injury, I'm pretty sure, and he's healthy now, but it's never good to be injured in the preseason. Um, so I am pretty much out on Kenneth Walker when it comes to him staying on the field. I just seen him get hurt way too much. So I am a Charbonnet guy though. I will say that, but
You bring up a lot of great points, and honestly, it makes me kind of want to change my pick over to you. But I'm going to stick with Seattle. I'm gonna take the team at home, and again, I'm just gonna kind of fade what sounds like the obvious pick of San Fran -2.5. I just feel like the public is gonna see San Fran and expect bounce back, easy win. Seattle, didn't make the playoffs last year. I feel like the public kind of like doesn't like the public just kind of looks at teams like, did they make the playoffs? Then they're good. If they didn't make the playoffs, then they suck. I don't think Seattle was as bad, maybe as the general public thinks they were last year. They did ultimately go 10-7. So we're not talking about a bad football team. They finished their season winning, going 6-2, including win over San Fran. They beat the Rams as well, very end of the year. So I'm gonna stick with Seattle. I just think I'm just gonna kind of vote of confidence on them continue to improve under Mike McDonald there.
okay, let's move to the Detroit Lions traveling up to Green Bay, taking on the Packers. The Packers are favored at Lambeau by 2.5 points. Um, I am taking Detroit to cover this, and I think they can just straight up win. They are not my underdog pick of the week. That was the Chargers, though. Um, I think the loss of Ben Johnson is going to be is
Crippling.
I know I think it's going to be overstated. I think they'll be fine. They were a good team without him, or I should say they were an all right team without him. I think he became the offensive coordinator in 2022, if I'm wrong. But I mean, we know how they liked to play. They love the double running back even before Ben Johnson was there. That was the whole DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams thing. So I think that we're going to see more of Jahmyr Gibbs. We're going to see more of Monty. I don't see any large drop off in production from this offense. And Green Bay has got Josh Jacobs, and they have Matthew Golden, and that's about it. I mean, Christian Watson's hurt. Jaden Reed is injured, right? And Romeo Dobbs is healthy, but he's kind of been in the doghouse for a little bit. So I really just think in terms of offensive firepower, we know that Detroit is one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL. Obviously, the big addition to Green Bay very recently is Micah Parsons, but I don't know if you saw, Austin, it came out that he's actually really dealing with back problems. That wasn't just a lie to put pressure. And he's apparently going to have to get like an injection if he wants to play. So all of that is not very enticing for me to believe he's going to be a serious impact player, especially considering he was just traded. Yeah, how long is he going to be able to get into, the game plan of, the Green Bay Packers scheme and all that. So I don't think Micah Parsons is going to have a huge impact week one. Obviously, he is a big defensive star and a playmaker, but the injury and his just recent trade are kind of throwing me off of wanting to accept that he's going to be, ruining any sort of plans that the Lions have on offense.
Yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying, but I feel like edge rusher is one of those positions where you could just kind of put a guy in and just like you don't really need to like integrate him into the scheme. You just like, put him out there and say go get quarterback, right? Like obviously it's not quite that simple, but in a pinch you could just say let's take this guy, let's put him out there and have him just get after the quarterback. Um, So I personally do think he'll be able to have an impact. And I think, it's not just losing Ben Johnson, it's also losing Aaron Glenn. You lose two coordinators. I am a big believer in coordinators being extremely important. And just I don't love that for the Lions. I just think it's gonna take some time for them to readjust without Ben Johnson. Because I think Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were both excellent coordinators. And it remains to be seen how good they are as head coaches. I'm taking Green Bay at -2.5 in this one just because I believe in the continuity of the Packers, and I do think Micah Parsons is going to be able to have an impact week one. Their wide receiver core, they needed Matthew Golden in like the worst possible way when they drafted him. Jaden Reed has a Jones fracture on his foot, which is a bad, bad injury. He's going to try to play through it, but historically hasn't really worked out for guys that
Yeah.
have that particular injury. So it's like you pretty much have this rookie wide receiver, Matthew Golden. You hope he pans out. He's a real speedster. Um, I obviously love the run game with Josh Jacobs. And the defense for the Packers, I think, is going to be really good. I'm expecting a low scoring game here because I do think the Lions, even though they have been one of the best offenses in the league past couple of seasons, I do think they're going to take a step back on offense. But on the flip side, with the Lions, you are getting pretty much your entire defense back healthy. I mean, they were pretty much down to backups at almost every position. Aiden Hutchinson comes back, so
Yes.
I do like the Lions defense to improve. That said, I'm just taking Green Bay because they're at home. The -2.5 line indicates that they do believe Detroit is a slightly better team, straight up. On a neutral site, uh, Green Bay given less than 3 at home. But again, I'm just going to take the continuity of the Packers coaching staff. I like the Lions, and wouldn't be surprised if they do win this game, honestly. But I'm going to go with the Packers here.
I don't honestly, I don't hate, picking the Packers here. I just think, I think this game will definitely be a closer game. I totally agree with you. I don't know how high scoring it will be. Um,
Yeah, I
but I,
mean, even still last year with all the injuries, the Lions were seventh in the league in points allowed. Packers were sixth in the league, and Packers got better. Lions are going to get better. I mean, yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
I really think, I really think in terms of running game, I don't think we're gonna see that big of a drop off. I'm pretty sure didn't one of the linemen for the Lions retire in the offseason?
Uh, Frank Ragnow, right?
Yeah, and he was
Oh
actually like
yeah,
huge for them.
yeah, Frank Ragnow. Oh wow, health reasons.
Yeah, I remember thinking that's gonna be a pretty big loss. Um, they
Yeah, he was
do,
only 29 years old when he retired. Holy crap,
they do
that's
have
that's tough.
Graham Glasgow, um, who I'm pretty sure he actually played for them as center earlier. Um,
Yeah,
but
he's their projected starting center now.
um, I'm not 100% worried about that. I think just generally they have a good offensive line.
Yeah, you still have Sewell, you still have Decker, and then dude, they brought in a guy from Georgia named Tate Ratledge, who I think is gonna be a stud. Kind of great receivers, or Tim Patrick.
Oh yeah,
You
they
bring
got
in
rid of who did they trade him to the Jags, didn't they? Tim Patrick,
uh,
Tim Dustrick.
yeah, he's on the Jaguars.
Yeah, they traded him for a pack of 5 pack of Coca Cola and a bag of dust.
Pack of Newports and some five gum.
Let's move on to Houston traveling to LA to take on the Rams. The Rams are favored at home by 2.5 points. Um, I I have the Rams here, and I completely like believe in Sean McVay. I believe in Puka Nakua. Um, but I do have a large question on Matthew Stafford. We know he's healthy, but we also know, or we know he's quote unquote healthy enough to play, right? He's probably still dealing with this back issue. Um,
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely a nagging sort of injury. Um, so I'm not 100% sure on my pick of the Rams. I think in a vacuum, I'd pick the Rams 100%. But with all these factors surrounding Matthew Stafford, I would not be surprised if Houston covers this. So I'm going to pick the Rams to actually win the game, but I'm changing my pick to Houston to cover this. I think the Rams are going to win in like at a super close game. Um, just based off the fact that we don't know, the full level of Stafford's health. Obviously, there's people saying Matt Stafford was dead in the offseason. Um, obviously, just being facetious there, but I think that
As you can see,
CJ Stroud is a very highly talented quarterback. He's going to have Nico Collins back. He's going to have rookie Jaden Higgins back, who is basically Nico Collins too. Um, I know a lot of people believe that the offensive line has been strengthened with rookies and um, developing players. I'm not 100%
mm-hmm.
sure. I thought there was a lot of questionable moves that the front office made, like dealing Laramie Tunsil. I know they got a 3rd-round pick and I think a 4th-round pick in the next draft, but I was questioning a lot of those moves. So there is a world where Jared Verse maybe game wrecks the CJ Stroud, and CJ Stroud's not able to get a lot of plays off. Let's not forget that the RB1 for the Texans is actually Nick Chubb, who is, in my opinion,
Oh boy,
top 5 dustiest players in the NFL. Um, and it's for him to be starting, even with all the bad reports, does not speak very highly of Damian Pierce, who a lot of people were high on like 2 years ago. Obviously, he lost his starting job to Joe Mixon, but I am very out on the Texans running game, at least until Woody Marks is involved a little more. I know he's more of a receiving guy, but uh, now that I'm actually kind of laying all these things out, no, I'm actually going back with the Rams. I think the Rams are going to cover. Now that I'm thinking more and more about it, I think we have a lot of question marks on the offensive line, and I think the Rams defensive front is good enough to have. They obviously have Jared Verse, who's like a young game wrecker, very great player last year, his rookie year. So I think actually I'm going to go with the Rams to win this in a slightly close game, but they're going to win it covering the spread.
yeah. This game, I'm picking Houston plus 2.5 purely because every bone in my body is telling me that Rams 2.5 is a smash play. Um, I don't see. I mean, the Rams have a good defense. Jared Verse is a monster. Houston's offensive line was terrible last year. CJ Stroud was running for his life all the time. And yet, at the same time, this line is only 2.5. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So this is like one of those like somebody knows something line. So I'm just gonna take Houston plus 2.5. Here's the thing about Houston is like, as bad as their offensive line was last year, and as miserable as life was for CJ Stroud last year, he still was able to lead them to the playoffs and a playoff win over the Chargers.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud has won a playoff game in each of his first 2 seasons. Like, he's gotten them to the divisional round for 2 years, despite basically not having an offensive line in front of him. And all of his receivers were dead last year. And he still somehow was able to win a playoff game. So with all of I think what this 2.5 line speaks to is like just a lot of the questions about Matt Stafford. Like, nobody doubts that Matt Stafford is going to play, right? We know Matt Stafford is like the ultimate Iron Man, tough guy in the NFL. Like, that guy will literally play through a gunshot wound. He doesn't care.
Yeah, he played through
And
dislocated shoulder and threw a pass. Like,
he's played through more. Like, we'll probably hear about it like when he retires, about all the injuries that he played through that nobody even knew about.
I wouldn't doubt if he had to be
But
resuscitated on the field after one of those hits in Detroit and then play.
He got DeMar Hamlin.
They called in the ambulance and he pushed it away. He said, "No, I'm actually fine."
So we all know that Matthew Stafford is just going to take some pain meds or take some painkillers or a Toradol or whatever it's called, or an epidural or whatever, and he's gonna play. They're gonna numb his back or whatever, and he's gonna play. So again, I don't know how the Rams are only 2.5 favorites. They're at home. That's why I'm taking Houston, because the lines are never wrong. Like, the lines are not wrong. Somebody knows something. Vegas is not in the business of putting out free money lines. So I'm just going to blindly take Houston plus 2.5, even though it feels terrible and I don't want to do it. I feel like the Rams will cover. I'm just going to take Houston plus 2.5 because somebody must know something.
All right, let's go down to the Sunday night game. This is Baltimore taking on Buffalo in New York. The Bills are favored at home by 1.5 points. And I am taking the Bills to cover. Mainly just because I think this is the Bills' year. I have been saying this. I think there was a lot of injuries they were dealing with last offseason offensively. Curtis Samuel was hurt. Keon Coleman was dealing with injuries. Khalil Shakir got hurt. And Dalton Kincaid got hurt as well. They had a lot of injuries on offense. And I think even with that, Josh Allen was able to put up numbers. And if you look at his numbers in with regards to his past numbers, he actually did not have a insane year. Even though he won the MVP last year, he did not have an insane year according to Josh Allen standards. So I actually think he is one of the rare cases where a quarterback who did great is actually not due for regression. I think he's actually due for some bump up in production passing wise and rushing wise. He had less numbers in both. I really think that Keon Coleman is going to be a breakout candidate this year. I was a big Keon Coleman guy when he was playing at FSU. I was really big on him getting drafted to the Bills. Obviously, he had dealt with some injuries last year. He had some good games, I think 1 or 2, but I really think this is going to be his year, taking over as the wide receiver 1. He's going to overtake Shakir as the number 1 guy in this offense. And not to mention, they re-signed James Cook, got him on an extension. I'm a big James Cook guy. And they have the backup Ray Davis, who everybody loves. He had some big performances last year. And primarily, I just think in opposition to the Bills, that the Baltimore Ravens, especially Lamar, is due for some regression. He put up numbers he has never put up last year. And in addition to that, we saw Derrick Henry put up almost 2,000 yards. He is now 32 years old, and I do not think we're going to see him match a almost career best in rushing yards. I think their rushing attack is going to take a hit, and I think their passing attack is going to take a hit as well. It remains to be seen if Michael Keaton is going to take over and have a. I know he was pretty explosive on his per touch basis last year, but is he going to be able to do that as a running back? Taking over if Derrick Henry goes down with an injury, who I'm kind of like Mr. Fantasy Flock. I've been saying for the past couple of years, like I'm not taking Derrick Henry. I don't want to touch this guy, even though he is an athletic specimen. Um,
Yeah.
but all that to be
You
said,
mean Keaton? Yeah.
yeah,
Go
Keaton
ahead.
Mitchell.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Keaton Mitchell and Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah, the actor. Sorry, I was just on a roll. I really
Yeah, I guess all
think
good.
I really think though that this is going to be the Bills' year. I think the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Um, I just think there was a lot of factors throwing against them last year, and they still got to the championship game against the Chiefs. Um, I also just really, really think that the addition of Joey Bosa to their defensive front, which is, no, not pretty solid, very solid. And they have a young guy in Greg Rousseau who's been in the league for a while, but he is actually very young for his experience. He's only 25 years old. Um, I really
Yeah,
think that,
if Bosa can stay healthy.
and he's going to be healthy week one at least. So there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I
True.
really think this is going to be a Buffalo statement win. Uh, so I'm going with Buffalo and the Bills to take a big win at home week one.
Yeah. I agree with you totally that even though Josh Allen won MVP, his numbers were not that crazy. Lamar actually is the one whose numbers suggest regression. He had the greatest fantasy football season of all time by a quarterback. No quarterback has ever had a better fantasy football season than Lamar did last year, including even Peyton Manning in 2013 when he threw 55 touchdowns and literally rewrote the record book. Um, just because of Lamar's rushing upside. So I do think, yeah, regression is almost inevitable for Lamar. But gosh, man, if you just look at their roster, I mean, no. The reason Josh Allen got MVP last year is because if you look at, all the Pro Bowlers, I think Baltimore had like 9 Pro Bowlers, and Buffalo had one outside of Josh Allen. So it was like him and like Deion Dawkins, I
Yeah.
think. But gosh, if you look at this Ravens roster, just really underscores just how amazing they are at drafting. I mean, they are just unbelievable at drafting. They just they're never bad because they just get good guy after good guy. They just never miss in the draft. And you look at their offensive line, it's all these guys that are young, good. Their defense, a lot of young, good guys. Totally forgot that they have Jair Alexander now. I don't know, is he
I
washed
think he's
or
kind of
what's the
dusty.
deal there?
I think so. Kinda. I don't know if he's
Well,
fully, but cornerbacks age pretty quickly. So I did not
I mean,
see.
I know he's only 28 right now, so they and honestly, for the thing is like it's like kind of one of those immovable object meets an irresistible force or whatever, like unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Because like the Packers are another team that just fleeces everybody and always makes the right decision, and just is elite in terms of personnel. So it's like when the Packers get rid of Jair Alexander and he goes to the Ravens, like well, like what something's got to give because the Packers don't make bad choices, and neither do the Ravens. So somebody screwed up there. And one of them, a team that normally doesn't make bad decisions, screwed up there with Jair Alexander. Um, so, and probably it's going to be a minimal, even if he doesn't end up paying off. I'm sure the Ravens probably paid him very little money. Anyway, um, this I'm not going to believe in the Ravens fall off until it actually happens. They are such a smash play for me right here. This is a game that the Ravens are going to win by 25 plus points. They do this all the time. In the regular season, they just absolutely pulverize everybody and just destroy, just beat the living dog shit out of everybody in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, they get exposed as per usual because, we've kind of gone on at length about why the Ravens get exposed in the playoffs. To kind of just briefly summarize, they are a very unique offensive attack. Most of the teams in the NFL play a certain way, except for so there's a meta in the NFL, and pretty much every team is part of that meta, except for
The
the two
Harbaughs.
Harbaugh teams.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I mean, you also saw the Chargers get smashed in the playoffs last year, kind of unexpectedly by Houston. But it's because it's very hard to prepare for a Harbaugh offensive attack because again, it's so much different from everything else that you're seeing from every other team in the league that I think they just catch a lot of teams off guard during the regular season. And it's just hard to prepare for it. But when you get into the playoffs, they don't catch anybody by surprise. Your preparation is way deeper, and you just make the necessary adjustments because it is a one game season in the playoffs. Maybe in the regular season, you're like, we're not going to change too much of what we're doing for this one game. Whereas in the playoffs, you basically have to because, again, it's a one game season. If you don't make those changes and you lose, your season's over. So you have to do everything in your power to make those changes and adjustments for whatever the Ravens / Chargers are going to present to you. So that's kind of the summary version of why the Ravens are so dominant in the regular season and why they so often disappoint in the playoffs, at least in my opinion. You could also say Lamar chokes the playoffs. I tend to think that's kind of reductive, although I do think that it kind of goes hand in hand with them being a very unique attack that people aren't ready for in the regular season, but are more prepared for in the playoffs. Anyway, this is a smash spot for me. Baltimore is going to win this game by 30, but it doesn't mean anything long term. I still think the Bills are a really awesome team, and I think you could entirely be right that this is the Bills season. I'm not going to go that far, but give me Baltimore the points.
I will just say the Ravens lost like 3 offensive linemen this year or last year, I should say. They traded away Morgan Moses. Um, I'm pretty sure he went to the Jets. I might be wrong. Um, but the Jaguars got Patrick McCarry, who is one of their like backup kind of like fill-in guys, and in my opinion, he's very good. They lost Kevin Zeitler and John Simpson, also both guards. Um,
Mhm.
they have guys slotting in like that they've drafted and that they used last year because they have a lot of
Yeah.
injuries on the offensive line, but that unit as a whole is not played together yet. Um,
Mm.
so there could be some O line issues, kind of like how we saw with the Browns, who had like in 2020 they had the best offensive line in the NFL, and then they kind of had some health issues, and then 2021 they were not even close to being the top offensive line. That might
Hmm.
happen to the Ravens. And I kind of thought about that as you were talking about all the talent. And I won't say that they drafted any bums. I think all the guys they drafted, I mean, they have a
Hmm.
right tackle that they drafted in the second round last year, and I think he's supposed to be their starter. Um,
Hmm.
so it's not to say that their offensive line is going to suck, but it might not be a top tier offensive line anymore. We just have to see. So that's another question mark, and who knows how it's going to perform against the Bills front. This might be a tough ask for this newly formed offensive line to play against a especially strong Bills front.
Yeah. And actually, just kind of along those lines, the Raven, and this doesn't necessarily mean anything, but the Ravens spend the fourth fewest or the fourth least amount of money on their offensive line, 33 million. There's only three teams below them: the Jets, Steelers, and Seahawks. Buffalo's like right around league average at 55 million. Number one, of course, Philly. Number two, Kansas City. But yeah, so kind of to emphasize your point there, I think they got a lot of young, unproven guys on the line outside of really Tyler Linderbaum, who their center,
Yeah,
who we all know
he's
is
their
a
best
fantastic
guy.
player. Yeah, Ronnie Stanley as well at left tackle, but I feel like he's kind of been a bit hit or miss. Maybe wrong there.
No, I think he didn't he have uh penalties last year. I don't know if that was him on the Ravens offensive line. I might be confusing him with someone else, but I could have sworn they had like some penalties on their own line last year, a lot of false starts. Um
Mm.
that might just be me lying. I might just be lying right now. But I might just be
Yeah,
lying to
so
fit my narrative.
no, I'm looking at Ronnie Stanley's his PFF page, and I know obviously we don't think PFFs would be all end all, but 39th out of 140 tackles with a 71.4 overall grade. So
Okay.
I mean at age 31, he maybe is starting to kind of get old.
There's little dust growing. Let's go on to the Monday night game, our last game of the week one. This is Minnesota traveling to Soldier Field to take on the Bears. Minnesota's favored on the road at -1.5 points. Um, I am taking Minnesota here, and I know I've kind of preached about I don't like picking question marks and this and that. And JJ McCarthy is a ginormous question mark, missed his rookie season with injury. We kind of all know that the Michigan, every player that got drafted from the Michigan team is like basically been a fraud. That national championship
Great
team
movie.
has been a fraud. Yes. So he's a ginormous question mark in terms of, will he be a good starting quarterback? I'm leaning he's probably going to be good. Kevin O'Connell, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated head coaches offensively. He is very, very, very good, as evidenced by them winning with anybody they throw out there, winning many games. I mean, they won 14 games, I think, with Sam Darnold last year, 14 or 13. Um,
Yeah, 14.
14 games, yeah. So, I mean, he can win with anybody you throw out there. And I honestly, even if he sucks, JJ McCarthy is, if he's even bad, Justin Jefferson, the other JJ in the offense, is probably still going to perform. They have Jordan Addison. They have a Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. I really think that this offense is stacked. They have a good defense. They've had a lot of pickups on defense too. So
Jordan Mason or Jordan Addison suspended though for the first three games.
oh
Remember?
yeah, I mean just for, like as the season goes on, I think the offense
Okay,
will be
overall,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah, regardless if JJ sucks or not. Um, and that is why I'm picking Minnesota to beat the Bears. I think the Bears are going to be awesome this year. I think they're going to be very improved. I'm a big Ben Johnson guy. We're both big Ben Johnson guys. I'm a big Romo Dunze guy. I think he's going to have a breakout year. Um, and I really like all the investments that the Bears have made on their offensive line, and I think that's going to help Caleb Williams. You know, evade getting sacked and have time to throw against a stout defensive front that the Minnesota Vikings have. So I'm mainly just kind of organizationally just picking the Vikings because they're the Vikings and they have one of the best head coaches in the NFL, and if not the most skilled and talented wide receiver in the NFL, Justin Jefferson. So There's a lot of factors that make me want to pick the Bears here, and it's just very hard for me to do that. So I'm going Minnesota.
Yeah, entirely reasonable pick. Um, and as a Bears fan and a Bears homer, I am extremely excited about the Ben Johnson era. Um, I I'm taking this line though, not because I believe in the Bears or anything like that, but just because it feels like Minnesota should be much bigger favorites than 1.5 points. Um, like I feel like the public will be kind of smashing on that Minnesota 1.5 line. Although, I wonder if maybe a lot of the public maybe the line's where it is because a lot of the public believes in the Bears. They're, I know the Bears have gotten a lot of attention in the offseason. But I don't know. I think, they're going to be able to improve quite a bit. I thought that they were much better than their record was last season. They kind of gave up on the season with Eberflus just being as bad as he was. First time in Bears history they've ever fired a coaching season. Their season they were actually decent until I think they had a winning record until they um, lost that Hail Mary game to the unbelievably lucky Washington Commanders, and then
Frogmanders.
yeah, their entire season fell apart. And then promptly the Bears go on a 10-game losing streak. So I don't know. I just think there it seems like the vibes are pretty high right now um, with the Bears. I think Caleb Williams. I think he has the potential to be the best quarterback in the league one day. And I don't feel like that's hyperbole. I don't feel like that's a homer pick because I thought that about him when he was in college before I even knew the Bears were going to get him. So I don't know. I'm just taking the Bears in this one. I feel like, Ben Johnson is probably going to be one of the next great NFL head coaches, confirmed, actually. It's actually guaranteed. I have no doubt in my mind. Uh, so
Studies
what
say
I'm going to do
yes.
is what?
I said studies show that he will be the greatest.
Yeah,
All the
it's
metrics,
proven.
all the advanced metrics are kind of just showing. Yeah, he's penciled in.
Yeah, just go ahead and pencil him in as an expert NFL coach. And I just think he starts off his NFL career with a big home win over the Vikings on Monday Night Football.
The Vikings, I will say, are kind of prone to being upset in week one. I think it was 2 years ago. Pretty much everyone besides me thought that the Vikings would kill the Buccaneers when Baker got signed there, and they lost to the Buccaneers and Baker. Obviously, that was Kirk Cousins, but still, Kirk Cousins was playing at like a Pro Bowl level before his injury that season, and
Mm-hmm.
the Buccaneers went there and upsetted them, and that was kind of like a similar situation because that was the new offensive coordinator. So who knows? Maybe that's going to happen with Ben Johnson, and he's going to surprise the ever living crap out of the Lion or out of the Vikings. Although I don't know because they played the Lions twice a year while Ben Johnson was there, so maybe their wives saw their tricks. Oh gosh, dude, it's over. It's all over for the Bears. The more I talk, the more I realize it's actually just completely over.
No,
Sell the team.
no, no, no. Ben Johnson keeps coming up with new tricks, dude. He always has new tricks. He's he's always ahead of this competition. He knows what he's doing, and in fact, it's completely the opposite because he has gone against the Vikings multiple times and knows them like the back of his hand. Knows them better than they know themselves, and he can read them like a book. And yeah, just gonna absolutely carve them up and dissect their defense for a full 60 minutes of pain and misery for anyone in the great state of Minnesota. Goodbye. That's it. Confirmed. Game over.
Yeah, we don't even need, they don't even need to play. We know the outcome actually. It's done.
Ben John. Yeah, the Vikings really should just forfeit. To be honest.
Don't even run out onto the field. Just quit in the locker room. Just
Oh yeah.
wave the white flag. Close the arena.
Right. They should forfeit, dude. Honestly.
So to wrap up, just generally, our underdog of the week, both of our underdogs. I am picking the Chargers. You are picking Carolina. And we're picking both these teams to outright win. If you're not familiar with how it works, we kind of have a point system going on, and we gain points based off of how many points they are favored by or favored to lose by. So we would actually both be tied because we picked two teams that are 3.5 point dogs. So if we both win our underdog picks of the week, we're going to be tied at 3.5.
Right.
So last year, I'm pretty sure, obviously, we didn't finish out the season. That is going to be the end of the video, guys. I had to cut it a little bit abruptly because there's a bit of rambling about sports gambling and stuff like that. But I want to thank you all. If you got to the end, I want to thank you all for watching all the way to the end. And please make sure and comment and drop a like.